There we go. Now I'm live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 1 of NSG's Intellivison Amico live chat. This is my first time using StreamYard, so I apologize if we have any technical difficulties, but I'm just excited tonight because I want to have a space where we can actually have a discussion about the Amico, good and bad, without going crazy. So I do ask that anyone who's listening or participating that in the comments that you keep it civil, that we're not here to attack people. We're here to discuss ideas, and I'm happy to have two people join me today. So when I introduce you, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your show on YouTube? So Saggy, you're first.
Yeah, my name is Saggy Melons. Melons with a Z. Please, for the love of God, do not type Saggy Melons with an S, because unfortunately, it'll take you to the dark corners of the internet that I did not know existed, and you will see legit Saggy Melons, and I swear that was not intentional. So just a disclaimer, please do not look up Saggy Melons with an S. I started as a gaming channel, and now I somehow became a drama channel. So I mean, I guess it works, sure. But yeah, basically I cover whatever I feel like talking about: movies, video games, drama, mostly because that's just what everyone wants to talk about on YouTube these days.
Yes, and I give credit to Saggy for inspiring this because I had questions about the Amico, and she contacted me on Twitter, said, "Hey, I'm here to answer questions," and I was like, you know what, I got so many questions. Let's turn this into a stream. And that's what happened. And also joining me is friend of the show. If you follow me, he's been a buddy of mine since before the Amico, BA, and that is BA Atari Creep. What's up, Creep? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
What's happening, bud? Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. I think it's the first time you and I have actually had a conversation.
Yes.
That's not just typing.
Yeah, we've talked many times through messages. We've sent in packages and all that stuff. But yeah, this is our first voice-to-voice communication.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, my name's Chris. They call me the Creep most of the time, or Chris. Chris is fine. I got a YouTube channel as well where it was originally based on pre-NES video game systems and playing and just having to look at everything and having fun. And it evolved into me showing projects and also talking about movies and stuff. It's just an all-around kind of I guess you would say kind of like my version of pop culture.
Yeah, and you can see both of their channels in the link below. Now, if you follow my show, I am a safe for work, family-friendly channel. Their channels, not so much. So you might want to make sure that you're aware of that before, turning it on in case you have little kiddos around or if you're at work. But if you're interested in their channels, I did put links in the description below. And of course, I've been covering retro video games and toys since 2014. I did the Atari 7800 game by game podcast where I went through every game on the system. And now tonight we're going to talk about some Intellivision Amico. Now, some of you already know, but my kind of feelings of the Amico have waned. I used to be super excited for the system when it was first announced, and over time it's kind of it's gone away. But I'm assuming both of you would classify yourselves as pro Amico, right?
Certainly.
I guess, yeah. I support it.
Now, do you both have the system pre-ordered?
I do not.
I have a Founders Edition.
You have a Founders Edition. Are you planning to get the system, Saggy, at this time, or are you just still kind of waiting and seeing?
I'm the type of person, I'm the type of gamer, I don't like to pre-order. The only thing I really pre-order is Pops. So that's like my guilty pleasure. I don't pre-order games. I don't pre-order consoles. I just get them when I feel like, oh, I have the money. I think I want a PlayStation 5 now, so I'm going to go get one.
Yeah, and so like would you both consider Tommy Tallarico a buddy of yours?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and did that come from the Amico? It came kind of out of that?
Well, with me, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Atari. You go first.
No, with me, I guess you could say the catalyst, the conduit was the Amico. But with me, it would be more like conversations him and I have had on the side that were non-Amico related. Yeah. I mean, that's we've just had some conversations again off topic of the Amico, and we become friendly.
Yeah, and how about you, Saggy? How did you bump in and become friends with Tommy?
So I have met some online YouTuber friends, and one of them had a podcast called the PlayStation Plus Podcast. A couple of us would do it every Sunday, Saturday night, and talk about games. And my friend Max, he is a big gaming nerd all around. And basically, he was introduced, like talked about the Amico with us, and we were all like, oh no, that doesn't sound like something for us. We like our PlayStation. I'm a VR gamer, so I wasn't really interested. And he's like, well, we should get Tommy on the PlayStation Plus podcast one time and interview him so you guys can meet him and he could tell you guys about the Amico. I was like, all right, sure, why not? I'm going to be there anyways, so it didn't matter. So when I talked to him backstage before the show was recorded, we were talking. He found out that I was from Boston. He's also from Massachusetts, so we obviously clicked there. And after that, we did the interview, and I was still kind of in that area where I was like, I don't think this is for me because I don't have kids. I'm not. I was a Nintendo person, but not even anymore. I'm mostly PlayStation now. So I told him, I was like, I don't think it's for me. And he said, well, maybe you'll find something you might like. Give it a chance. And anytime somebody tells me to give something a chance, and if I'm like vibing with somebody, I'm very supportive. So the last thing I was like, yeah, sure. You know what? I'll that's a fair thing to ask someone is, just give it a chance. And then after that, it was just a journey from there.
It was just a journey. Now, let me ask you too, because people are interested. Are either of you investors in the Amico?
No.
Aside from my pre-order, if you consider that an investment, but no.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just making that clear so people know where we stand ahead of time. And I figured that. So now we are going to talk about criticisms. This isn't going to be a fluff piece. It's not going to be all softballs, but they're my guest and I'm going to treat them like guests. And before we get into the Boston event, and we're going to talk about that, one thing I want to do is, first of all, I want to ask why, and Chris, I'll let you go first. What is it about the Amico that attracts you? Why do you like the Amico in like 1 to 2 minutes?
It's simplicity. I can't. Every time I look at a modern controller, I get terrified to play a game. I have wanted something like this for a long time. That's why I was originally invested in that other system that had a retro name to it that we will not mention so much at first until it, obviously tanked. It's just the idea of something more my speed coming out and being new. I know the concepts aren't new as far as the games themselves. They're very retro inspired, of course. But it's the idea of having a brand new platform where I can, as if, say, we were back in the Sega Genesis days, I could go to Toys R Us or Child World and go pick up a game. To have that experience again, but with something that's more my speed.
I got you. And Saggy, how about you? What is it about the Amico that drew you in?
Honestly, it's before I even played it. I kind of asked Tommy like why he was making this, and his initial response, and he has said this many times, is like, he wants to bring families back together to gaming, how it used to be back in the day. And I thought that was a really good thing. Like, what's wrong with a console? Nintendo has done it, so why can't another one do it? Why can't we be okay with people wanting to play games together again, get families together to have like a family game night. I remember when I was younger, every Sunday night, we, me and my family, we'd have Sunday dinner and then we'd play a board game, and I was a gamer even back then, but every Sunday I'd set aside my gaming to spend time with my family. So I think the moral reason why he's making this console is why I support it.
Yes. And first of all, I want to say hi to everyone in the chat. We do see you, but I got so much to cover. We will get to the chat and we will get to more of the kind of criticism questions a little later on. And it's ironic because Friday night at my house is family night and we rotate through board games, or we'll watch a movie together, or we'll sometimes play the Wii. We'll play like Monopoly or Wheel of Fortune. So I mean, tonight we played Apples to Apples Junior Edition, which works really good for my kids. So I totally appreciate the family night thing. That's totally right up my thing. Before we get to the Boston event, you both were a part of that. There's one thing I want to touch on because yesterday, a little drama hit the Amico. So I don't know how. I didn't talk to you guys ahead of time to know how much you are aware of this or whatever. So for those of you who are watching, yesterday evening, Intellivison on their YouTube channel posted their first deep dive video gameplay that they've been promising for a while, and it was of battle tanks. And it went up, and then it went down, and then it went up, and then it went down, and then it went up, and it came back as Tank Battle. and it went down. And then it came back as tank battle. And news came out that someone had discovered that a lot of the art could be found elsewhere on the internet or in other games. So it wasn't original art. And some of the art is tied to World of Tanks. They took a couple of tanks apparently from World of Tanks, and they use it as like, this is the tank, not the tanks that are actually on the play field, but like when you win, there's a picture of your tank, and they used it for that one. Two of those tanks, I believe, are from World of Tanks. One of them is the Fury tank that was part of. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there was a movie called Fury. It was a tank movie, and that tank was like a thing in the World of Tanks game, and now that tank is appearing in this Battle Tanks game, and that created a little bit of a stir. Like, yo, you guys stealing someone else's artwork, is basically what they're saying. So I have a little take on it. I don't think I'm as negative about it, and I'll explain why. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but what is your take on this situation if you have one?
Who wants to go first?
You can. I honestly don't really have much to say about it.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, so as far as I know, I was originally told it, because again, this is like something that's kind of outside my knowledge, because it's hard, because people always ask me questions like these, and it's like I only know what I'm being told, and I still don't always understand it, because this sounds like something that's like maybe a legal thing or copyright thing. So it's like I'm not that knowledgeable. I'm just saying what I was told, which is there was I think what was it, like they had paid for the rights to use some of that. I mean, don't quote me on that, but that's what I got from the conversation when I asked, because I didn't know what was going on. And then now I'm seeing people saying, well, it's a placeholder thing. And I was like, I don't know what that means. I don't understand what the thing is. Like, obviously stealing someone's work is a serious issue, but I also do think that they wouldn't blatantly steal something like that without realizing like this is going to backlash. So I don't think that this would be a move where it's like, oh, we're going to take this art from somebody and just use it and hope no one notices, especially from the fact that there are so many eyes daily on the Intellivison Amico. Everything they do is looked at by a bunch of people who are looking for things for them to mess up on. So I think knowing that, they wouldn't knowingly take some work that they didn't have permission to use, but that's just my thoughts on the matter.
And they called it a deep dive, and the irony is, people, I didn't realize whoever found this artwork, because it was within hours. Within hours, someone posted a video showing the artwork side by side, overlaying them, and it's clear as day that it's basically the same artwork. That it's copied, and there is a possibility that some of this stuff was licensed or bought for use in the game. But the Fury tank is what really throws you off. It'd be like, to use an analogy some other people might understand. It's like if they were to make an auto racing game and Kit from Knight Rider was in it. And you're like, wait a minute, that's a licensed vehicle. There's no way that's in this game unless you're going to call it Knight Rider. There's no way they're going to use a Fury tank unless they're going to say this game is based on the movie. So the deal is that it's possible that it went under the radar, because these games, Tommy Tallarico is not making every game himself, even though he may talk like it. Okay. He doesn't but there's developers, right? And it's possible that the developers put this stuff in the game either with the intention of cutting corners and not telling Intellivision, or with the intention that they're going to replace it later. But there's people who are going to do deep dives on this stuff. And it's my opinion, Intellivision has to really step up the quality control and look at every little thing that they're about to put public out in front, because there was an event that happened not too long ago, and there was an event they did not too long ago, and it was Moon Patrol, and the story in the video from this event came from Star Fox. They put in text from Star Fox, and so it's the phrase I use is a death by 1,000 cuts. And so in of itself, it's not a big deal, but I do think it's something that Intellivision, they kind of have to stop the bleeding. They have to do that. Let's see. So Geek Getaway, thank you for the super chat. And since it's pertinent, I'll post it on here. I won't do this all the time, but he says that the art was in the game since 2020 and no one noticed until now. And that could be possible.
Okay.
That could be very, very possible. Like when I looked at it, I had no idea. But once it comes out, that's when Intellivision, if they're going to have integrity, they have to take a step back and be like, we're going to take care of this. We're going to take out the Fury. And if they don't take care of it, and maybe even issue just a short apology. We're sorry to the creators. We're going to fix it, because someone made that art.
Right.
World of Tanks, just a little bit being civil, like, even if they didn't mean it. I'm a big fan of apologies. I think a lot of people, if you issue a simple apology, now I understand there's haters out there, and no matter what Tommy says, they're going to crucify him basically.
Right.
But I think you still do the right thing and you still say, we're sorry. It shouldn't have been in there. We're going to fix it. That's just my thing. And the Battle Tanks, the name change, I'm curious if they found out that there's other games that, there's other games out there that use the word Battle Tanks, even though that was the original name of the game in Triple Action. It was Battle Tanks. It doesn't mean they still have the rights to it. Maybe someone, I don't know. So we'll see. Anyway.
Well, I do know, as far as the title's concerned, I know there's always been talks about that name being a placeholder. Now, how it came out, I've been actually hyper focused on a musical my daughter was in. So I know no one's going to like this, but I really don't have an opinion on it either way, aside from Tommy's an artist. I can't imagine he would steal artist work. I would imagine that anything in there would have been paid for or done behind his back. But unfortunately, the past couple of days I've been so focused on something else, I haven't really been paying attention, or I would address it myself with you,
No, that's okay, because this was, and I only brought it up because it's brand new. It's kind of a big deal. I wasn't planning to talk about it, but and Saggy, I saw that you commented on the first video. And if you go back, your comment's not there because they took that video away.
Yeah, I was quite upset with that because I'm usually really good at being the first commenter, just commenting first. And then I was very upset to realize that they took it down and I wasn't first when they re-uploaded it. So yeah, I was quite upset. It was kind of a jerk move, Tommy, a jerk move.
Yeah, and it's just it when you have all the little fires that Amico has had to put out. Man, to have to pull and pop up a video back and forth and all this stuff, it just adds fuel. It really does. So yeah. I do hope that they issue apology, and say we'll get it taken care of, because it's clear that at least one of those pieces of art shouldn't have been there. That's clear.
Right.
That Fury tank. Yeah. Okay. So anyways, we will get to questions in the chat later on. I do want to talk about the Boston event, which just happened this past Sunday, and you guys were both a part of that. So I was wondering, and from what I understand, you both actually helped with the show. You didn't just attend it, but you were helping with it. So I was wondering, and I'll let you go first, Saggy, if you want. What exactly did you do? Like, what was your role with the Boston event? What did you do to help it out? How were you helping? How did it develop? That kind of stuff.
So before I even explain, I have to say, if it wasn't for the Atari Creep, that event wouldn't even happen in the first place. So he actually saved the day, because the original plan was Tommy had told me during the Crayola event, which was like months ago, because I went to that one. And he had told me, I said, hey, Tommy, you really need to do more of these. I think this is a great idea to have more people play it. I think, you should do more of these. Maybe we could do one in Boston sometime. And he said, well, I'm going to be in Boston in a few months, and maybe we could plan something then. And I said, okay. So then he had reached out and said, hey, did you still have an idea? Did you still want to have me come out? We can link up. And I said, yeah. So I originally was planning on doing it at a local GameStop. And at the time, everything sounded good. Everything was confirmed. We were all good. Then I found out last minute that GameStop told us, no, we couldn't do it. And I was like, crap. They told me that literally like the week before the event. So, posters were made and everything, and we were all ready to go. So getting that news was very upsetting. So I said, listen, I don't know what to do. Maybe the Atari Creep, since he's also local, maybe you can see if he knows any spots in the area that would be, good. And yeah, and then like the boss that he is, he found
Yeah.
not one but 2 locations to have the event. So yeah, if it wasn't for him, that the event wouldn't even have happened at all.
So was there a reason that GameStop gave you why they had to back out?
They did, and I can't publicly say why
Okay.
because I don't want to get people in trouble.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So now, uh, so help me understand this. Well, have you been? Okay, Creep, you didn't go to an event before. Have you been to an event before, Saggy?
Yes,
Which events have you been to?
I was at the Crayola one, the one in Pennsylvania.
The Crayola one. So was this event supposed to be different from the other events, or was it supposed to be similar to the other events? Do you know?
It was just supposed to be like all the Amico events, just Tommy there with the Amico, people coming into the public location and seeing people playing it and coming over and saying, "Hey, what are you guys doing? What is that?" And then playing it for themselves, and that's basically it.
Okay, so was it like up to you to like make the posters and do all that setup, or it was Tommy like, "Hey, we'll help. We'll do this. Just find us a location." Like, because it almost sounds like Tommy's like, "Hey, if you want an event, go ahead and set it up, and we'll show up."
No,
Is
no, no,
No,
no.
not
So
quite.
not quite. So, because like, so for example, the Crayola event. So I'll just be completely 100% honest. When we are the ones who are like, "Hey, Tommy, you should come out here and do an event," it's like low key for us. Like we want him to come out here because like we want to play it, we want to see Tommy in a
right,
sense, but we also like want to have something where we all can come together because the Crayola event was set up by another friend of mine, and he wanted to do it because he thought it'd be
Whoa.
kind of cool to for all of us to kind of have a place to meet up, play the Amico, hang out, like because we all kind of came together because of the Amico, right? We're YouTubers. We met because we were talking about, the television Amico. So, we all became friends. So we thought it'd be kind of cool to like have something like that where we can hang out with each other, play the Amico, and also have other people play it. So we thought it'd be a good idea. So when I since after the Crayola event, I had such a great time. It was so much fun. We got to play the Amico. I got to see how other people, who were invested into this playing it for the first time. It was a great feeling. So I was like, yeah, we need to do more of these. I think more people who play it can understand, why we like it, because just showing people video footage and, talking about, oh yeah, we like it. It's not the same as people's experience, So that's like kind of like the thing. And when we say, hey, Tommy, we want to do an event out here, he does offer to like, make posters and stuff like that. But we usually say, no, it's cool. We can do it because we're here, and obviously him traveling with all that gear and stuff, we're like, dude, we're here. The posters, making a poster is not that much money, guys. It's like maybe a big poster is like $10, right? So it's not like we're spending hundreds of dollars on all this stuff. All we provide is really just, if we want to make posters, we make posters. If we want to make little like pamphlets or something, we make them. It's not expensive at all. Tommy comes out and that's it. He buys his own way. If we're if there's food he wants, we're like, hey Tommy, we're hungry, we want to eat, he'll buy it for us. Like he has no problem doing that. We are the ones who take it upon ourselves to do it, and he does offer. We just say, no, we got this.
so basically you offered to host the event, and he's like, "Hey, sure, but I'll do whatever you need to." But this is kind of like your inspiration thing. Is that right?
Right. So like he does offer, like he'll say, tell me what you guys need from me. Like, what do you guys need? He does ask us what we need from him. And if we do need something, we will tell him and he will help out. But like, since the events are pretty simple, like, it's not like we have to do much or bring much. Especially like the one in Boston. All we did for him for there is just like we just made 2-3 posters, which cost us like $20.
Oh, I wish I'd known that. I would have kicked in.
Well, it's not like I said, $20. Like,
Yeah,
it's
but
not
still.
like, but that's what I mean. Yeah, Tommy is more than willing to help us with anything we need. That's usually the first thing he says is like, yes, you want to do an event? Sure, let me know what you need from us.
Okay, so I'll show this. Retro Bro just chimed in. He said, so I guess he was the connection person. He said, Intellivision set up the Crayola event. I just made the connection.
Yeah.
YouTubers aren't doing their work. So basically what he says is usually what I'm hearing you say, Retro Bro, is Intellivision usually does do all the setup, but in this case, Saggy pretty much offered to take it on herself and to go ahead and do that. And they said, okay,
Yeah.
so if I'm understanding that correctly. So, so let me ask you this too, because at this event, did they record at this event? Did they record video?
Intellivision didn't, that I know of.
Intellivision didn't. I believe they did at the Crayola event, but at the Boston one, no. I was the only one with a few other people who had our phones, and we just recorded or did live streams. I did like 3 live streams that day.
Yeah, I can't really speak about any of the other events, but I do know that the Boston event was just more of a happening of it just happened. He was going to be in town. So we figured, or someone figured, because I didn't know about it until the last minute myself. Since you're going to be here, how about we bring a couple of consoles and get a few more people to play it? It was just more of a convenience and take advantage of a situation. I guess he was in town for a reunion or something like that.
Yeah, high
so
school
it
reunion.
it wasn't like as official as like some of the other events, where it was kind of set up by them and maybe with some help from which I'm learning for the first time myself. It was just more, let's get together and see if people come in and also play it,
Right, exactly.
I just wanted to play the damn thing. I missed out last time because poor me was in Disney. So
okay, and I just got to highlight one comment here.
Of course.
Small Wonder TV show deserves a video game. I just have to bring that up because I haven't heard Small
Be the
Wonder,
creepy robot,
little android girl. I actually watched that show a lot as a kid.
Oh man,
kind of break the ice there, because this event did have a different vibe to it, and it does kind of it makes more sense now. Okay,
it was casual. It was literally just people getting together.
Because as an outsider, and we'll get into this in a second, but as an outsider, it did kind of come off different, a little bit different. But Intellivision didn't explain that ahead of time. They treated it like the other events.
And I know the Intellivision product was there and everything, and Tommy was there, but I wouldn't look at it as an Intellivision event. It was a guy bringing something over for people to hang out with and play.
Right.
We made it into an event by putting it in a public setting, of course.
Right.
I mean, the guy still runs a business and wants people to check it out. So it kind of was more convenient for everybody else. But with the Boston event versus the other ones, it was literally just a casual group of people getting together to either play it the first time or get together to play it again.
Right.
Okay. And we'll get more into that later. Because what I want to do is I want to talk like the positives and negatives. And actually, I have a list in front of me as an outsider, because I looked at Saggy. I want to thank you because I think you're the first person I've seen live stream the event, event. I don't think I've seen that before. I don't know if that was a thing where Tommy said, and you can answer this if you know, but I don't know if Tommy at the other event said, please no videotaping or videoing it or live streaming it, but this one you could. Or if you're just happened to be the first person to do it.
No, at the Crayola event, there were a few YouTubers there that were live streaming. Tommy does not have any rules at least for the Boston one or the Crayola one that states that nobody can record. There are certain things that he will show that I sometimes will be like, Tommy, if you probably shouldn't risk showing that to people you don't know in a room. But there are some things he will show, and he will ask, please don't, record this part.
Right.
But for the most part, he'll let us, there was one part in my stream actually where I had to put my, I was still live streaming, but I couldn't show the screen because it was a shot, they were playing a later level in Astro Smash that he didn't want, people to see yet. So he said, yeah, please don't, film this one. So I was still live streaming and I just put my phone down. So I didn't show anything. But yeah, you can. He encourages people to take pictures and videos at these events.
And both Saggy and Atari Creep have videos from these events. I put links in the description of this video. So I do want to thank Saggy for doing that, because that's the first live stream I've seen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some positives in my eyes, some neutrals, and some negatives.
Okay.
And I want to get your feedback on it, and then also see if you guys have positive or neutrals or negatives. So first, I want to get to the positive stuff first. The first thing, as a viewer on the outside, everything seemed to work technically. The systems seemed to work. The games seemed to work. The controllers seemed to work. Now, I will say, and we could talk about this a little later. And Saggy, you had in one of your videos where there was one controller where the LED light wasn't lighting up correctly, and I think you said it was like a firmware thing. It needed a firmware update.
Correct.
I don't know if you remember that, and we'll talk about that later. And in the second event, I saw they were playing Shark in one room where there was mostly kids, and there was like 4 controllers wired in together. And some people criticize the wiring in the controllers because of the well, shouldn't the battery hold? But being that this was the second 3-hour event, I would give that a pass. Or maybe they wanted to keep those controllers together for Shark. I don't know. They didn't want them walking away because they were in a separate room. So, but I'll say, first of all, from my viewpoint, it looked like everything worked. Is that how it seemed at your end?
Yeah.
I mean, because that's a win for Intellivision if the system's working and not crashing and games are playing and look mostly complete.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Nothing crashed. Everything was as complete as it could be.
Yeah. Like most of the games, most of the games that we showed were finished. All the games that we had shown that we were playing are finished games. Obviously, when I say finished, because somebody said, "Well, what's your definition of finished?" Well, finished is all the levels, all the graphics, the mechanics are as works and functions, but they might need to tweak some things. Like if a character in a game might need to have their balance with their HP level or something like that, their health bar or something, or the damage they do to enemies. That stuff that can be tweaked. That's a normal thing. We see that in regular games. That's why they have patches for all these games. Every few months, you get a patch to update your game because they're tweaking things. They buff or nerf something. So that's basically like all those games you saw us play. Yeah, they're complete.
So, and the controllers seem to be functional to you guys. Let me address 2 kind of criticisms since I'm bringing up the controllers, or perceived criticisms. One has been lag. Did you guys notice any lag playing any of the games?
0.
None.
In fact, I was impressed by how responsive it was. A lot of my, I don't know if I want to call it criticism. A lot of my doubts laid in the controller, and I've been very vocal about that since day one. Just the design of it, I didn't think would truly work with my hands, but I was pretty impressed by how well it does work.
Okay, and another perceived criticism or worry is that the buttons on the side are mushy or spongy.
No.
Okay. I mean, that's why I'm bringing up.
But that's what I thought too, especially by looking at the way they're designed. It almost appears like, they're going to feel, they're not going to have that feedback for yourself, that physical tactile feedback. But that's not the case at all. There was no mushiness to it. They functioned perfectly as they needed to.
And the screen, there was an article where someone said at certain angles it's hard to see the screen. Did you guys have any problems with that? Or
No.
I can't say I did or didn't, because I didn't really look at the screen too much during any of the games, so I can't really speak on that.
I know what article you're talking about. I believe I was on. I think you were actually watching that stream on the Geek Getaways channel, where we were reading the German article where they said there was glare. I would say it depends, because the room they were in, you can clearly see the reflection of the overhead light in the office. So I would say if there's a lot of light, it might have that kind of shine. Obviously, if the light's bright enough, but that's I don't that's kind of something I would expect. But yeah, at that event in that room setting, there was no issues with the screen. But like Atari Creep said, you're not really, once you know where the buttons are on that touch screen, you're not really needing to look at it.
Right.
Yeah, because if I'm playing a game like that, I when I look at that, I'm like, I'm not looking at the touch screen. I'm looking at the game.
Right.
If I was there. And so Thomas also said that the buttons weren't spongy to him. So I've heard you guys say that the controller, now I haven't held the controller. You said that the controller is lightweight. I've heard some people say that. Would you say it's an average smartphone, heavier, lighter, about the same as an average smartphone?
Let me see. Where's my phone?
Well, the way I described it was, I think it's comparable to a cell phone, but it doesn't feel like it, only because a cell phone's more compact in its physicality, I guess you call it.
Right.
Whereas this is it's a little thicker.
Right.
So a lot of the components have, I don't know how else to describe this, air in there or something.
Right. So I just picked up I have an iPhone 12 Plus, the Pro Plus, the big one, right? And I
Bougie.
just picked it. Yeah, I just picked up with my bunny ears and all. I just picked it up, and it I would say the Amico controller is probably a slightly lighter than my iPhone 12, as far as weight wise. Yeah, I would probably say the Amico controller is a little bit lighter than my phone.
Okay, and because it's a bulkier size, it might, like you said, creep. It might feel a little different when you first pick it up,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So, I mean, that was my first positive is things seem to work, and there's a possibility that there was lag in the past, and that they fixed it, or that it was a software thing. I mean, this thing's been in development, and
Right.
so I'm not saying the lag never existed, and I haven't touched it myself. And by the way, you talked about me being on other streams. I watch a ton of Amico stuff. I'm almost addicted to the stuff.
Everybody is apparently.
Both good and bad. Like I watch every side of it. And one of the things I really want to do tonight is have like a conversation instead of people yelling at each other
Yeah.
back and forth, because we're not getting that. And I
Mhm.
almost would, and we'll get into this maybe a little later. I almost think some of the biggest problems with the Amico is not the Amico itself.
Amen.
Is
Spot
not
on.
is not the system, and we can dig into that. Another positive I had was between the streams, I counted 10 games, which I've never seen that many shown at these events. Because one of the criticisms you hear is, oh, they're showing Astro Smash for the 17th time. It's like the same games over and over.
Mhm.
So I want to list my games, and you guys tell me if there's any others that you saw at the event. But I saw Astro Smash, of course, Evil Knievel, Shark, of course, Moon Patrol, Biplanes, Rigid Force Redux, and now we're getting into some games I don't see as much. I saw Skiing, Missile Command, Finnegan Fox, and Space Strikers.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
is there any games I'm missing there?
On the live streams, no.
Okay, and I know you may have seen stuff behind the back, and Tommy does his little "Hey, don't tell anybody" thing.
That is
and,
correct.
And by the
Yes.
way, if we say his name 3 times, apparently he'll show up. And I want to just give one piece of advice to Tommy and the Amico. Please don't publicly say I'll tell you something privately after the stream, because you know how there's this whole Intellivison cult thing.
Mhm.
That we're
That
part
sounds
of. Yeah.
that sounds like a cult. The leader saying, "Hey, if you knock on the secret door, I'll give you the secrets."
Well, I mean,
You know,
in all fairness, there are some secrets that need to be kept.
absolutely.
As far as revealing it to whomever he reveals it to, I guess I don't know.
Do it off the air. Don't do it in front
I
of other
see what
people.
you're saying. No, don't announce that you're going to.
Well, I would
Okay.
say, like, I understand the optics of that. Trust me, I do. But it's like behind the scenes, it's like it's stuff that we're told, but eventually everyone else is going to be told. I think it's like his way of kind of just wanting to give us a heads up of what's going to be announced or like what's happening, because we are already so deep into the drama aspect of it with all the people saying this stuff. So I think it's like his way of kind of like preparing us for what is to come. So we're kind of like all right, so this is going to be announced, so now we know when it's going to be announced. We already can speculate what the majority of like that when it comes out, what people are going to feel or think about it. So I think that's what it is, because it's not like we have that much privileged knowledge like people think we do. But yes and kind of no. Everything we're getting told is things that are eventually going to be told to the public anyways.
Yeah, and this comment, kind of brings it up to me. That's like
Hey,
telling the
Oro
customer
Necro.
there's a party, but they're not invited. So
They're
like I
not.
said, and you're not, right? I mean, because Tommy's been since day one, he said, "Hey, I have something to reveal later on. I have this and that." And he also says a lot to the host, like, "I'll tell you off air, I'll show you off air," which I understand why he says it. I just say as a casual viewer, it does come
Right.
across like you're not worth telling viewer, but other people aren't. So I think the optics of it, like you said, Saggy, should be, it's constructive feedback. It's constructive
Mhm,
criticism, because you never see Reggie Fils-Aimé is one of my favorite spokesmen. He was with Nintendo. You would never see a guy like that say, "Hey, I'll tell you, Mr. Newsman, this stuff, but I can't tell you now." That's a rare thing. It does happen,
Right.
but it should be rare at the least. So let me ask you, we talked about the games. I want you to tell me your favorite and your least favorite game you've played so far.
That's easy, actually.
You can go first because mine's very short.
Astro Smash was my favorite. It was a toss up between that and Evil Knievel. Evil Knievel is one of those games that if you just want to be silly and have fun, that's all it's about. I mean, sure, you try to win, you're trying to get points, you're trying to do this and whatever, but that one's all about the gut belly laughing and chuckles. My least favorite, and this stinks because I was really excited for this, and again, it has nothing to do with the quality. It's my personal taste. Was Missile Command, and I believe I mentioned that in my live stream as well. I just didn't feel like the anxiety that Missile Command is supposed to give you was present within the game. It felt like the waves were too short in between tallying up the cities and all that stuff. It was still fun to play. I just didn't get the anxiety you're supposed to with Missile Command.
And do you typically do enjoy regular Missile Command or Missile Command on 2600?
Oh, most certainly, yes.
Okay. And thank you for being, because here's one of the, and Saggy, I want to get to you next, but here's one of the things is when you look at the Pro Amico videos, every game is the best game ever. Some of these videos.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't, but you watch some of these videos, and I tell you what, if tonight Tommy Tellerico announced Tiddlywinks was coming to the Amico, there'd be someone who says, I can't wait to play Tiddlywinks.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, there's a guy making 31 flavors for a reason. I say that a lot, and everybody has their own personal reaction, and I suppose none of us can really truly deny anybody's reaction, their feelings or anything towards anything. It may seem silly, it may seem maybe even a little maybe some people need medical attention, with their excitement, but good for them either way. Good for them if they're excited about something.
Yeah. And I'm not against people being excited. Right. It's just silly when it's like there's certain YouTubers out there or Pro Amico things where it's like any new game is announced, they haven't even played it yet and they're excited for it. Mm-hmm. So I like being real, and real means, even Nintendo Power would sometimes trash games on the Nintendo. So not every game can be a 7 and up. So,
right.
So Saggy, what was your favorite game and your least favorite game?
My favorite game is Finnegan Fox. I played Fox and Forest because when I was like, oh, Fox and Forest looks nice, somebody's like, oh, you could play that right now, or Finnegan Fox looks nice. They're like, oh, you can play that right now. It's called Fox and Forest. So I got it and I played it and I had fun with it. So I was excited to see what they did, as far as the changes to Fox and Forest with Finnegan Fox. So that so far is my favorite. My least favorite, and Tommy knows this, and I don't really care because he knows this. I hate every single one of those flying games because I suck at them. I don't understand how the mechanics work. So on biplanes, it confuses and frustrates me. So I put it the heck down.
Okay, and again, thank you for being honest, because I like realism. I get tired of everything's positive and fluff, and you're in Willy Wonka's place where every tree is edible and everything tastes great, because it's just not real. And I like real, that's just who I am. One of the criticisms that I've heard with the games is Tommy has talked about how his grandma played Wii and how he wants a system everyone could play and how simple is a pillar. But one of the criticisms I get is that the games don't always appear as simple as they should. When you look at these events, that Tommy's always there kind of explaining the game, where if it was really that simple, maybe the person could just pick up and play.
Well, that's the showman side.
Right.
Honestly.
I mean,
being a host saying, okay, so I'm going to show you this game and this is the best way to play it. Now here's a controller. And then he goes off to the next console.
I mean, it's so some of the games, like once he explains how the mechanics work, right? Like for instance, the Evil Knievel game, the motorcycle one. Every person who played that game, it took them a while to get used to like how it works, because if you play games like Happy Wheels, or there's another game like it on I think like Xbox or PlayStation where it's similar to that. Once you get the hang of how the control, like the way the movement works, it gets a little easy. But even as adult, like the adults had trouble with the first stage. There was a 5-year-old who was the first person that day who beat it by
Mhm.
herself. Like everyone was like, somebody's playing for her. I was like, there is nobody in this room. She is playing this by herself. And she, yes, trials, thank you. She was 5. And once she figured it out, she was killing it. Like every adult was struggling. A 5-year-old literally just destroyed us and made
Yeah.
us look like trash.
And I
It's like,
think I want to expand upon Saggy's use of figuring it out. It's not that it took any time to actually literally figure it out. It was just like with any game, you need to know which buttons fire and which button does this and which button does that. It's that kind of figuring out.
right.
But
And
it takes seconds to be like, oh, okay, so you need to tilt the controller to make this happen. Okay.
right.
Okay, this button does this.
And
And then it's intuitive.
right. And here's another thing too that people don't see, because people what you guys see in these videos are people who are already playing these games. They're already, but every game starts with a tutorial stage, right? So the games teach you how to do it before you play it in the beginning, but what you guys are seeing is that part's been skipped because people have already played that part. So you're seeing after
Mhm.
they've gotten through those tutorials. So the games do tell you how to play the specific game that you're about to play, the buttons and how it works and what you're supposed to do. It's just you guys don't see it because people have already played that level and already got through the trial. And Tommy still will explain it just to make sure people understand, because when you see Tommy explaining it to someone, it's because somebody took the game over from somebody else was playing it, right? So somebody else already played the level and now it's somebody else's turn. So he comes over and he's like, hey, so this is how you do it, because maybe that person wasn't there for the tutorial.
Right.
Okay.
And not to mention, Tommy's very proud of that system. Should be.
Yeah,
And he likes to talk about it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. What game would you say is the best grandma game that you played so far? A game that grandma who hasn't played a game maybe in her life, because that's one of the selling points of the Amico. It's for the whole family. It's for non-gamers.
Right.
Which game would you say is the best for that of what you've played?
Shark.
Yeah, probably Shark or
Shark.
Astro Smash. Maybe not the subject matter, but as far as grandma picking up and being able to play.
Right.
Actually, we had not a grandma, but a possible grandfather. One of the gentlemen who attended brought his father with him, who's an elderly gentleman, and he picked it up and went with it as if it was, something he had done it 40 years ago. I guess he grew up playing Intellivison with his father, and his father hadn't touched a controller in 40 years, and it only took him seconds to get going on the game.
All right. I want to give props to Thomas, who there's a discussion about, are you an investor? And he came out and said, yes, I'm an investor. And,
Cool.
and I put down, and I want to give props to him because this is the transparency I think gamers want to see. It's like, hey, if someone's on screen, because there was that lady, whether Tommy knew it or not, who turned out looked like she was an investor in the Crayola video. And that might be a violation of the FCC or whatever. I don't get into that stuff. I'm not a lawyer.
Right.
But it does, the optics again, and optics is going to be a word I might use a lot. The optics don't look good when you have someone, because the events to an outsider, it looks like, hey, look, we pulled this lady. She just happened to be at the Crayola Museum and she's telling you to buy an Amico. And when she can make money off of that, that's where it gives you kind of shady feelings, like, wait a minute, like how can I trust this? And so I want to give props to him, and I still want to encourage Intellivison on that video to put, last I checked, they haven't done it, to put it, if she is an investor, to put a disclaimer in their video, at least in the description, saying, hey, one of the people in this video might be an investor or something. You know what I'm saying? Because it's come out. And I do think that's something they should do. But I'll move on. I'll share. I have 2 more positives and I'll get to my neutrals. So one of the positives is, and I don't know if they're in the chat or not, I had someone who's on my Discord server who went to the event and they talked about how they got to play Evel Knievel. They said the controller was nice. It was lighter than they thought, very responsive. Tilt worked great. And let's see, younger kids were playing the same time and they whooped them. And the console itself looks sleek, great design, likes the LED lights, looks fantastic. Controllers fit in nicely. Looks like it would be nice to set up. And so one of my viewers, now they might be an investor, I don't know, but they actually did have like a criticism too. So I give them props for that. because I talked to them and they actually shared a criticism, and I'll get to that as we work through. But but my last positive, and then I'll see if you guys have anything else positive you want to share about the event, and we'll move to the neutral side, if you will, things that like are neither great or bad but mentionable. But the last positive is, like I told people, Atari Creep's been my online buddy since before the Amico, and him and I are different cats, right? Our channels are different.
Oh yeah.
Some of our tastes are different. He's very excited about the Amico. Me, I'm not right now. Okay. So but he's my buddy. And what you shared about how the going to the event and seeing your family play your hobby that you enjoy together and having a good family time together, that to me is a positive.
Yes.
If people buy the Amico, as much as I may not think it's worth it right now, and they're happy, that's great. You know, I think that's fine. So to see a friend get happy playing it because of their family, that's awesome. And I think, Saggy, did you have family there? Or was it just you? Because I don't know if you talked about nieces before or something like that. I know you have some kids you're close to, or am I totally understanding something?
Yeah, no. I went there alone. And I do have like a ton of nieces and nephews, and like, you know, extended family and stuff. So yeah, I have a ton of, but I went to this event alone.
Okay. So do you guys have any other positives that you want to share before I move on to the neutral territory from the event?
Not really. I mean, I'm positive that I just think I think it works.
Oh, it's a lot more fun than I really anticipated it being.
Right. And I saw my main goal there too. Like I didn't play the first event, I didn't play much. I wanted people who haven't played it for the first time to have that experience. So I kind of that most of the first event at the first location, I didn't play many of the games there. I want other people to play. And everybody there that I talked to, because I wanted to see like how people were reacting, like how they you know, and everybody there that I talked to that played it for the first time, they liked it. They said it was cool. One person in particular did say that it was cool. She was having fun, but she also was just like, I don't think these games need a console. Like she said, these games are fun, but I don't think they need their own console. That was really her criticism. I was like, yeah, I respect that, you know. But yeah, for the most part, everyone had really no complaints about it overall.
Okay. Let me ask you this too, because Tommy talked about how there was a hater there that totally he basically evangelized, and now I see the light. The Amico's great. You know, that, and Tommy kind of has, at least in my opinion, or how he comes across to me, is almost like he's such a salesman. He tends to exaggerate sometimes. Or
No,
at least
that's the Boston in him.
Okay.
The Italian
and here I am with two Massachusetts people, right? So let me ask you, did you guys witness that yourself? Did you see a hater come in here and get it? I'm not saying it didn't happen if you didn't, but did you see it?
At the Boston event, I was getting pizza, so I didn't see it, but I did hear about it. But that's not the first time that's happened. It happened in Crayola with two actually. So yeah, I heard about it when I came back. He said, you just missed a hater. And I said, dang it, of course. My stomach is another reason why I missed something cool. But yeah, I did miss the hater there, but I didn't miss the two in Pennsylvania.
All right. So Creep, did you see that?
No. No. At the second event, I was mainly talking with the owner of the business. He was a high school alumni of mine.
Oh, cool.
Him, myself, and his employee or partner, I don't know what that gentleman's role was. We're talking about his business and just reminiscing about, you know, the town we grew up in and all kinds of stuff. There was an individual that was there that seemed nervous to be there. And I remember thinking, okay, this person could be a problem, not even so much like an Amico hater. So my law enforcement spidey senses kicked in. So I kept an eye on him. Only because he seemed very nervous to be around some people. But I didn't find out about that whole situation until the next day.
Okay. So let's go. Well, you know what? Let me ask a question then, since you brought that up in the law enforcement thing. First of all, are you guys aware? I know Tommy's talked about people calling in these places and threatening them and bomb threats and all this stuff. Did you guys witness anything like that during this time?
No, not the Boston event.
I did ask the first owner. at the first event if they received any calls at that event, and they said no. And I didn't actually think to ask the other owner, because at that point I was kind of tired.
He brought it up to me, actually. He's like, I'm surprised that happens. And I asked him if it ever happened to him. He's like, no. I haven't heard a
Okay,
peep.
and Tommy also mentioned in the Extra Slopes interview, I'm just piggybacking off of this kind of harassment stuff he brought up. He said,
Okay.
their lives have felt so threatened that they've hired security for these events. Did Tommy hire any security for this event that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
No, there was no security there. No.
Again, it was more of a casual thing than an event.
See, in
Right.
Boston, you don't need security because
Oh, shoot.
in Boston out here, you don't need security. You have Bostonian people. We are our own security out
Yeah,
here.
it's kind of a different milieu when you come into the city.
Yeah, like if you
People
come
don't pop
into-
off unless they come heavy.
Right.
Mhm.
If somebody comes into a Boston like place and tries to start anything, like every Bostonian in there, they're like, "You're not from here, are you? Because you're about to leave not happy."
Yeah.
Well, because like well, and I understand. I grew up in the shadows of Detroit, so
Okay.
I understand people. Some cities have a tougher attitude than others. I totally dig that. But it's when I go back and I said, sometimes I feel like Tommy exaggerates. When he was in that video talking to Slopes, he made it sound like he's got a target on his head, literally. And I'm
Well,
not saying- I'm
I
not-
do know of cases where people's personal lives have been intruded upon
Mhm. Yeah.
as a result of all this Amico nonsense.
Yeah.
and I'm sure that and I know that there's stuff going on.
Mhm.
It's just, if my life's in danger and I have hitmen chasing me and bomb threats, I'm not going
Right.
in public and inviting families to come visit.
That's a good point, but
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
well, the
I-
bomb threats and that stuff like that is, I think it's more of the individual spots, just more of just trying to disrupt things.
Yeah. Because I've literally seen screenshots of things people have threatened and things that people have said.
Oh,
And I've seen it. And the reason why, like, Tommy will speak on it, but he won't show it because some of the people that I've seen, when we looked into it, they were minors. So like, what do you want Tommy to do is get have a minor get put out there for everyone, and there's crazy people online. So the last thing anyone would want is for a minor to be subjected to that. It's just a minor who made a stupid decision to say something stupid online.
Jim.
So like, why but the people who are maybe adults, those things are not going to be shown because maybe they are. I'm again, don't quote me because this is not something I've been told, but this is my speculation, is that maybe they are pursuing legal action against some of these people.
And I'm sorry to laugh. I do take threats seriously. It's not a cool thing, even if it's a joke. But Jim made me laugh. He said maybe they
Me
misheard
too.
someone saying the Amico was going to bomb. That is like, could you see someone calling up like, are you sure you want the Amico at Boomers? Because it's going to bomb.
It could have. Maybe it could have.
So that was funny, Jen. That's very creative. Because I just. Here's my thing. I've had some training with bullies, and that's what trolls are, basically, is they're
Right.
bullies.
Yeah.
And one thing you're not supposed to do is give them attention or give them the time of day.
Right.
And I think it would be smart. This is just my free, once again, I act sometime like I'm a consultant no one asked for, and it's free of charge. But I think one thing that would help Tommy is if he just didn't even bring them up.
Mhm.
And if they're
Yeah.
serious, let the authorities know, because on the Slopes interview, he basically went into that for a little bit and said, hey, we're getting all these threats and this, and we had to hire security. And so that's giving attention to them and letting them know, hey, if you call into these events, you're going to disrupt this multi-million-dollar company,
Right.
and I don't think that's smart. That's just my idea, my thoughts. Let me get to some neutrals. So one thing is, there's things that I think people want to see that we didn't see, and maybe you guys saw it behind the scenes, but we didn't see the UI or the eShop going on. We haven't seen the physical product actually being used. I think it would be really cool to actually see it being used, or
Right.
smart, I should say, because he's talked about it in the videos, but they don't actually show it connecting to something and affecting a game.
Okay.
Even if, Tommy said that if the system is offline and you have the RFID card and you've already downloaded the game, if it's offline, you still have to tap the card again to play the game.
Right. It's like a verification thing.
Right. So I think it would be interesting if they made sure a system was offline and you tap to make Finnegan Fox play.
Mm-hmm.
Just to show people what to do. I think that's a missed opportunity. You know, I would like to see kind of that kind of stuff. That's a neutral for me because they didn't promise that. You know, so any thoughts on that before I go on to another point?
Yeah, I could say without a shadow of a doubt that I got to see the eShop actually in action. And he did say it was okay for me to say that, as long as I don't go into great detail. But I will say that the eShop is functional. It works. And there's a lot in there that has not been revealed.
As far as games. Are you talking
Sure.
games or other stuff too? Okay. I understand you're sworn to
I didn't see it, so I can't.
It's not even
speak
so
on it.
much that. I mean, it's the guy's baby, and I don't want to, step on toes and stuff.
And I will bring up too, I call it a neutral because the controller still worked, but having a controller at the event that the LED light's not working, to me, one of the things that I guess it's a pet peeve is just the quality control. Is making sure that, hey, Battle Tanks doesn't have this art, that Biplanes doesn't have the wrong font on the box, that boxes aren't being printed with the coin upside down, that you take Moon Patrol and it doesn't have Star Fox text in it at a public event. It's these little things. This is the death by 1,000 cuts that I'm talking about that makes this company looks less professional, because what it tells a potential customer is, well, if you can't take care of this little stuff, what's going to happen when you put a system together, And so I think I really wish that they would fine tooth comb and make sure that they have extra controllers so that you don't have a controller with the LED. It's a neutral because it worked. Okay.
Right.
But I'm just saying it's the optics that
Now, which
quality
event
control.
did that happen at?
Right. Well, the first event, the Boston one, the first one we were at. So here's the thing. Tommy has said it a few times. I think people forget. And I mean, I get it. Again, optics are things, so I completely understand that's a valid criticism. But he has said that like the Amicos that you guys are seeing at these events in particular are the development ones, the ones that they are actually working on. One of them belongs to him, the other belongs to another developer, and the other one belongs to another developer. So these are the consoles that they are using that they work on, right?
Mhm.
So like that's what because I asked him that. He's like, oh well, the firmware wasn't updated on that one. That one is the one that they use for the developers Amico. They're not the ones that are going to be the ones that people are getting. So, but again, if you don't know that, or you don't remember hearing him say it, or if you never heard him say it because you don't follow the stuff, you're not going to know that. So yes, the optics are pretty important. But that's why I did ask when I noticed that. And, I could have just glossed over that and didn't address it or say nothing. But I wanted to, because I knew that if people saw that was going to be something that was going to be questioned. Is, well, what's up with that controller? The LEDs aren't working. It's the Amico's not working. Look, the controls are crap. So I asked him on the stream, I was like, hey, do you know that this is off? And he said, yeah, it's because the firmware wasn't updated on that one. And I was like, okay, there you go. Now you know why it was off.
Yeah, and I paid attention to that,
I
but
knew
yeah,
people would.
and so I think I even mentioned the firmware thing. So it's like, I understood that, but I'm just thinking of Joe Schmo. I'm thinking of
Right.
person off the street. You want to, when you're doing an event, whether it's for 100, for 1,000 or 10, if you're a company, you want to put your best foot forward, and that's just kind of, that's where I think maybe they need to, when they do more events, maybe they need to think about upping some of that kind of quality control. By the way, do you know of any more events being planned? Has he said anything to you guys or because I haven't heard of anything.
No, not to me
No,
anyway.
I haven't heard of any events that Intellivision's planning, but I'm sure there will be more happening because the benefit of having like all these people that are excited about this and want to have these events more because they are having fun with these things. I'm sure one of the other people would be like, hey Tommy, you want to do one out here? So I'm sure they'll happen with it more. I'm sure more will happen.
Did you guys have any neutrals you wanted to bring up? Because I just have two kind of negatives to bring up, but do you have any neutrals you want to talk about?
Well, I will say I've considered an Amico shill, which I think is kind of funny at this point, but I've done a lot of I've had a lot of criticisms myself. You know, I mentioned I thought the E3 event that they did, I did not care for that. I even told Tommy, I was like, Tommy, what the heck? Like, you didn't show anything new. You didn't show anything new. I wanted to see Earthworm Jim. I was super excited to see Earthworm Jim, and there was none of that really. So I was kind of a little disappointed. You know, and I even brought it to him in person when I saw him at Crayola. I was like, in Pennsylvania, I was like, dude, what was up with that video? Like, I gotta say something. So, you know, I have my criticisms, and again, I understand everyone's criticisms. A lot of them are valid. I think the issue is really how people are giving their criticisms, right? Like talking to you and talking to some of these people that I once thought were, I guess, haters. It's like when you first talk to someone about criticism, try not to be a jerk about it. You know, like if we're having a conversation and you don't like my response, you know, you don't have to be a jerk about it. Just ask me another question in a better way and maybe we can communicate. But it's the issue of like, you know, the communication is really bad in this community about this console. And I will say, yeah, that, you know, everything you said is fair criticism. I have told Tommy too, yeah, you should just ignore the trolls. 100%. We, you know, a lot of us have told him that, but Tommy's gonna Tommy. He's, you know, we can't control what he. Yeah. Tommy's gonna Tommy. We can't control what comes out of his mouth or what he types on the keyboard. And you know, I'm not gonna ever be that person that's gonna like push it and be like, oh, dude, you need to shut the heck up. Like, no, like this. Should he not say things and address things sometimes? Yeah, sure, of course. But is he going to? Probably not.
No, you know, and it's funny, not to make an excuse, but he has often said to me a few times, like, Chris, come on. You know how we are. I mean, you may be Irish, because he is Paisan. You know, he comes from a real thick Italian family, and they don't shut up.
Yeah,
they don't shut up, and he knows it too. He said to me a few times, he goes, "I need to learn when to shut up." But Chris, you know, I mean, being from where we're from, and of course, again, him being Italian. Yeah, I guess he just doesn't know when to say when, but Saggy, I can't really comment on that.
You're hilarious, and I hope Tommy's your friend after this, because I think Tommy is going to become a meme now. So
Tommy, I mean, yeah, quote it, make it a meme, guys. I know you all love it. Tommy's gonna Tommy.
Here we got a question. Did you guys see any Night Stalker or Cloudy Mountain? Because I'm interested, because I'm a big Cloudy Mountain fan, and they've shown next to nothing since one video.
The Night Stalker thing was a big goof, at least on my part. Never even brought it up. Everyone was excited about what they were excited about, and it was one of the games I was going to request. Like Missile Command, I requested that one. And as people were requesting, like with skiing and all that stuff, he would do, and I completely spaced on it. As far as Cloudy Mountain, I don't know anything about that.
Nah, I haven't seen Night Stalker or Cloudy Mountain yet. I didn't even think to ask. Those were games I was just like, oh, those exist. I forgot about.
I was told by a few of the guys there that Night Stalker has been played at an event somewhere, whether it was on camera or not.
I haven't heard anyone who's played it, to be honest with you. So
okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding someone then, and if I am, I apologize.
Yeah, well, I think I heard someone on one stream say that Tommy said they could have played it because he had it on there, but they didn't bring it up. And that's the thing is like, well, I'm the kind of guy will show me, show me it's there. Mm-hmm. So we haven't seen it. So let me get into just a couple negatives. And first of all, let me thank you both, because I think I think we set a world record. We've talked about the Amico for 1 hour. Mm-hmm. We brought up contentious points, and no one has yelled or cursed anybody out yet.
Oh, I can change that. You're wrong.
And believe it or not, despite my aura, this is exactly my vibe when it comes to these things. When I get mad, it's because this isn't happening.
Right. So let's go. Let me just share two negatives. One comes from that same viewer of mine who shared on the Discord, and I'm going to just say what he said. This, and I feel a little bad. I don't blame you guys for this. Okay, I don't blame you, Saggy, you're a creep for this, because it's not on you. But he said after seeing the Crayola experience, this was a bit of a letdown, but at least I got to play it. My wife commented later that she was surprised there wasn't any take-home stuff, brochures, flyers, pens, or, just a few consoles set up in the back and a small sign on the door, which I didn't notice until I watched a video later. So that to me is a negative, because you know, you guys talked about how this was casual. And to me, that's what this looked like. It looked like a guy in his apartment sharing something. It didn't
Yeah.
look like a public event. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is on Intellivision because it's their event. They put their name on it and they advertised it. They actually posted, you know, hey, come join this event. And so I will agree with him. When I watched the video, it didn't look like a multi-million dollar company. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would think that there should be posters everywhere, and that there should be, maybe the systems are in kiosks. You know how you used to go to Kmart or Target,
Right.
and there would be a
Right.
kiosk. And at this company, they say they have $10 million for advertising. You know, I would think you have some money to make some presentation stuff, you know, some table
Right.
banners to go over the to go over the table, have those
Mhm.
brochures, have the Intellivision Running Man pen. You know what? Put the Running Man. You remember those pens that had like liquid inside of them? You could make things float. Have a
Oh,
little Running
yeah.
Man. Have a Running Man in there that you make them run by tilting the pen, and people are going to
Right.
go gaga over that stuff, right?
I want a pen now,
Right.
Tommy.
So again, you know, you tell me this is if this was just like a last second event and where people were like, and television didn't announce it, and your guys, hey, Tommy showed up, he was in the area and we played and it was, that's different. But they advertise this.
Right.
Do you
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
do you guys think that they, and I'll even say some of the other events, like, I think it could have used a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more like the table banners, posters, you know, a little bit more than, you know, an Amico sitting on a table. Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Because you're trying, because I don't know how many they have to sell, but I've heard numbers, hundreds of thousands of systems they have to sell, which puts them up there with, you know, big name companies. The Atari Jaguar sold 150,000 systems. It's a failure, but it had a big name. It had some presentation to it, you know, and it was able to get in stores. And television's fighting an uphill battle. Do you
Mhm.
think that do you think that they need to step up their game a little bit when it comes to public presentation?
I mean, yeah, I think they could, but again, for the Boston event, that was 100% kind of like my ball that dropped a little bit, because it was, like I said, up until a few days, and I'm literally not even joking, like a few days before. And now normally they do announce the events a little like usually around this time, but for once this was like legitimate, just I didn't even know that the event was happening. I didn't
Hmm.
find out that this event was still happening until I saw Atari Creeps video. That's how last minute.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I didn't even know. Tommy didn't even let me know. I even yelled. I was like, "You didn't even let me know this is still happening." So like, until like the last minute when I saw Atari Creeps video, as far as I knew, the event was off. I didn't know what to do, you know. So it was very, very, very last minute. So that with that time of not knowing if it was even still going to happen, that I could say is pretty much why there wasn't a huge thing. Obviously, Intellivision did advertise it because they wanted people to come out to play it. So with that, yeah, I could see that was kind of the reason why that event wasn't. But prior events, yeah, I've been having this discussion with a lot of people who were saying, well, he could have, but did this, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I think that is a fair criticism that he should have at least, you know, tablecloth with a name on it. That'd be kind of cool, you know. More flyers and stuff, maybe goodie bags, sure. But yeah, I do say that's not a bad idea. I think that, yeah, that is something that if they can fit that in their budget to do it, yeah.
Yeah, and I give Ordo the credit for saying Amico do the math. That's the old Jaguar logo.
Do the math. I didn't see that.
You know, I do think, you know, if anyone from Intellivision is listening, and by the way, if anyone from Intellivision wants to get interviewed, you know, hit me up on Twitter. If you can do a late night interview, I'm game. Okay. But I do think that Intellivision needs to step up their appearance. You know, you only have one chance to make a first impression. You know, it's the old cliche.
Right.
And
Well, it's cliche for a reason.
and you know, if you just have the system sitting on a table, and it's not just this event, and again, Saggy, this isn't on you. Tommy should have this stuff in whatever. I don't know if he drove his Ferrari. Did Tommy
No,
drive
he
the
didn't
Ferrari?
drive the
No,
Ferrari,
he
no.
rented a car, I think.
I forgot to ask you guys at the beginning if you've ridden in his Ferrari.
No,
No.
his
So
Ferrari's in
I
California.
couldn't get in and out of one if I wanted to.
but with the Amicos that he brought to the event or whatever, there should be a like a Rubbermaid bin with the table banners and, stand-ups or something that looks more professional than what they're doing. That's just what
Yeah,
that's
no,
just
that's a
my
great suggestion.
that's the optics. Because again, you're talking multi-million dollars. You tell me you don't have $5,000 to $10,000 in an advertising budget to come up with a traveling setup
Mm.
that looks top of the line?
Well, he
You
did
know,
mention months ago on a live stream, so it's not like I'm saying anything that's private.
Okay.
He did mention that they are working on like a mobile event.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, yeah, they're working on a vehicle. I don't know if it's like a bus or something, or but like how they have those gaming
Yeah, it could be
vehicles
like a
that drive
trailer
around.
or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like so they are working on something on something like that.
okay, help me out. What is that vehicle that looks like a car with a truck bed? I can't. Back in the 70s,
The El Camino?
El Camino. So if Tommy Tellerico pulls up in an El Camino and has like a
Yeah.
CRT TV, I'm going to lose it and say, hey, it's the mobile
Listen,
event.
as long as when it honks its horn, it does that little da 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 da.
No, the Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, the Dukes of Hazzard, right? That thing. So that was one negative, is the presentation. And this is not just, again, it's not on you. This is on Tommy. This is on Intellivision to have this stuff.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, it's nice that you said, hey, I'll buy some posters and find the place. But again, you should have something that's ready to go, to trade shows. There's, the retro gaming trade shows are starting up, something to kind of even step up and show that, hey, we're taking this seriously. Because honestly, there's some, you don't want to look like you're one of those flea market vendors who's selling the knockoff NES Classic Mini with 500 games pre-installed, right? You want to be
Right.
above those guys. And the other thing, and again, I would put this on Intellivision, not you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the turnout seemed to be really low. And a lot of the people there I recognized as like pro Amico YouTubers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Is that how it came out to you? Did it seem like the turnout was kind of low?
Not at the first event. Well, the second event wasn't low either, but it was more short-lived with the organic
later.
traffic.
Yeah, because
that was more of a bunch of Amico people getting together. There was a good crowd for a little bit, but it was mostly people coming out to literally see just the Amico. The
right.
first event, however, the organic traffic was much larger.
Yeah, it was.
It was sporadic throughout the entire. We were only supposed to be there until 3:00, and it ended up running maybe about a half hour, 45 minutes late, and there were still people that we had no idea, and they had no idea either of what it was all about. Still trying to play.
So the first event was held at a location that I believe is like a place. It's like a store. It has they sell retro games and they sell like cards and stuff. It looks like it's mostly for people to come in that play like Magic the Gathering. They have like tournaments there and also LAN parties, but they also have like a little mini arcade with like old school games as well as like old Japanese arcade games, which was kind of cool. And when we got there in the morning at 10:30, they were just wrapping up a LAN party. And there were people already in there playing their games. And when we set up and everyone started playing, they were interested. They turned around like, what the heck is going on? What is this? And they stopped what they were playing and joined us, which was kind of cool. And one guy was just like, what is this? We're like, oh, it's the new Intellivision game system. And they're like, oh, Intellivision's still around? And we're like, yeah, this is the CEO's right there and stuff. And then he stopped what he was doing, got up and was watching us and then wanted to play. And I mean, like I said, it was the traffic was decent. It wasn't nearly as big as the Crayola event because it's the Crayola event. There was a ton of people at the Crayola event just for Crayola. And also, again, this was, like I said, a last minute location that we had found. So, but it was still a decent turnout. We were actually shocked ourselves at how much people were coming in to do, whatever they usually do in that store. And then they came and played the Amico.
Yeah, well, I do think that Intellivision, they gave 3 days notice for this event. I do think that I think it would be cool if they came up with a tour, like old, rock and rollers used to do, like had a tour schedule, like, hey, we're going to be in Detroit this day. And if they want to keep doing these events, I don't know if it's something they're interested in still doing or not. I don't know. The theory is they do these events to get video for the investors, for their investment, they're like republics and stuff like that. So that was kind of like the prevailing theory. I don't know how true that is or not, but what I'm saying is that they were going to do this, because I remember, Creep, when you announced it on your channel, one of your viewers said, man, I wish I could come, but I have to work, like didn't have notice. And one of the things I hear the pro Amico crowd say is like, hey, you got to try it. You got to put it in your hands.
Yep,
and again,
100%.
I don't think I'm of the opinion that the problems with the Amico online, at least in our community, in this YouTube online sphere, if you will, is not the Amico itself. It's the communication, it's the presentation, it's how things have been handled. That's kind of my theory. So you come up and you say, hey, we're going to do these events and here's where we're going to be, and you do them you do them at places. Don't talk about the bullies. If they call, tell the police, take care of them real quick, right? Don't give them attention. I think you might get more people and give people a chance to actually try this thing I think people want to try this thing and they're not given the opportunity.
Right. I think they are actually gearing up to be a little bit more streamlined with all that, especially with what Saggy was saying a few minutes ago about I'll just call it the tour bus,
I'm going to call it the El Camico.
El Camico, I love it. I love it. Well, I was going to say, so everybody, again, I see this all the time. These are questions I've dealt with, and people always ask, well, why the short notice? Why the short notice? Mainly because the goal here is to get people outside of the Amico community to try it, right? It'd be great if he gave people weeks notice if people wanted to fly out, but that's not what he wants. He doesn't want people to fly out, like a bunch of people to fly out to play it, get hotel accommodation stuff. No, it's not like he wants the public's takes on it, how they feel and perceive it. And he wants fresh minds. People like, yeah, it's great. We get to know sometimes, yeah, like the Pennsylvania one I knew, but that was mainly because the connection was from a mutual friend. So I knew because the mutual friend was making the connection for the Crayola event, right? And I'm sure if like another friend wanted to do an event near local to him, he'd be like, hey, Saggy, do you want to come out and see us and stuff? Yeah. But as far as these events, the main purpose is to get people to just walk in a building, see people playing a video game console they've never seen before, and be like, what is this? I want to check it out. I want to play it. This is cool. Now, I see somebody in the chat, and I will acknowledge the person. He makes a great point, and I will say that is a great point. When somebody comes in, and it breaks our heart, because we've had to say this at the Crayola event, is like, oh, this is so cool. When can I buy one? Right? So that's the awkward point of these events, is afterwards, and that person makes a great point. It's like, after I play it and now I want it, I'm gonna leave and forget about it. And that's a fair point. That's true. But maybe that's not for everyone. Maybe somebody will play it and be like, oh, well, when's this coming out? We'll be like, it's up and coming. And now, okay, now they're aware of it. Now maybe when they see it, they'll remember that they played it. And now they're like, I've already played this. I want to get it. Now I can get it. But that's what the reason why for the short notice is, like, it's more for the locals, like people coming in, not watching all the YouTubers that talk about it, pro or anti, not knowing it exists and coming in and discovering it for the first time.
Yeah, I do think Tommy needs to because I hear you say that, okay? I've never heard Tommy say that, because when he was on the Slope interview, he just talked about the threats. Why he said this is the reason. So this is like, I think it would be maybe a good idea for him to say it. I want to give this comment. Part of the problem is that with the short notice media, people can't get there. If there was notice, we could get there and get some actual coverage that could build some real hype. And so I think that's a fair point. You get the local station there, you get Channel 2, right? To say, hey, there's a new Intellivison system. It started out, all these years ago, and look what's happening. It's here in this, and that could get the locals there, right?
Right.
Well,
because I think that's a interesting idea. And then you have a pamphlet there or some takeaway that says, hey, come in spring 2022. which I know they're having a hard time nailing down the date. But then you talked about that question. When can we get one? That's why they should have something to take home that has the information
Right.
on it. It shouldn't be up to you to explain it. There should be something right there for them. What were you
Well,
going to say,
it's not really up to us to explain it. But what I was going to say about the whole having the media and all that, and this is not me speaking from being told anything. This is just how I feel. I don't think Tommy truly wants to have a media thing going on with this yet until he's actually ready to launch his actual campaign as far as whatever the advertising is going to be. I'm not smart enough to understand any of that, so I won't even try to speculate. But if I were to guess as far as wanting media and stuff there, on the surface, yes, that sounds legit. Somebody has a new product, they want as many people to know about it. I just don't think the media thing would do any good right now anyway. I think he wants to wait for
Closer to
closer
launch.
to when he's actually going to reveal it to the general public, so to speak. But I guess in a way he is kind of doing that now with the organic traffic and everything. But I think that's just more of getting reactions and stuff like that, like with other events, to package up something to show to individuals and stuff. Plus, it gets it out there.
Well,
No, go ahead, Saggy.
well, I was just gonna add to that is like I think I think what they want to do is they want to wait until it's closer to them launching
Yeah.
the Amico before they really do all of that stuff. Right now, people just knowing about it. I will say maybe some things are maybe jump the gun a little bit on certain things. Which again, I mean, yeah,
Well,
I
he's
could see.
excited about it. And
Right, he's
he's
excited,
admitted he
right.
does that.
He's excited and he wants to, tell people things. And then, that's a big problem too, is like sometimes he'll say something, like he'll have something in works and he's so excited. Oh my God, you guys won't believe what we just got. And then he announces it or he talks about it, and then that changes, right? Something changes, and now he has to, okay, now it's not happening anymore. And then everyone's sitting there like, bro, what happened to like that game you totally were excited about and getting us hyped up for, and now
Mhm.
we're sitting here like where did it go? And it's like, well, something happened along the lines. That would be like, but that's just because he's excited, and I get it. Maybe he shouldn't do that, but again, Tommy's gonna Tommy. But
Tommy's
so
gonna Tommy.
Tommy's gonna Tommy.
Because
But
let me just bring up, because
Yeah.
one of the things I've noticed is that Tommy a lot says we're going to do something and he gives a time frame, and constantly they don't make it. It's like, and sometimes it's like these deep dive videos. He originally said they would be out much sooner, right? And we just got the first one like a month or two after he said we were going to get out. In the Slopes interview, he said he was talking about the release date. That's when he said Q1 2022.
Mhm.
He said, but I'm going to be he said, and this is not verbatim, but it's close. He says, we'll be announcing something about that date in the next 7 to 10 days. Get on the email list, because they're going to find out about it first. He's like, you know what? I'll give myself 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks. Well, guess what? It's 2 weeks today.
Okay.
So there's things where I think Tommy's going to Tommy, where he says stuff and then it's like maybe an excitement, like he means to get, he wants it. It's his wish, it's his desire, but but things happen. You have to allow for things. And
right.
yes, this is the
Mhm.
first time he's doing this. And I do think that there has to be, and I'll give him a little bit of credit for not announcing the release date again. But at the same time, people are waiting because it's been so long.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, did he say anything about the release beyond Q1 at the event?
I didn't ask, so for me, no. I don't know if somebody else did, but I didn't ask. I honestly I was too busy hugging all my friends and being happy to be around them to actually do anything concrete.
No, that's cool.
Uh,
That's cool. Anything creep? Did you hear anything?
No, I believe one of my daughters asked about it. I'm trying to think of the answer he gave her. It wasn't like a legit, like it's going to be in March or it's going to be in April. I just want to say he gave a general how many months, and because he knows a 13-year-old girl is going to know what Q1 of 2020 means,
Right. 2022, yeah.
But no, he hasn't relayed anything official or concrete yet, at least to me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I was curious if he said, because That's a big deal. This thing's been delayed a lot. And yes, a lot of businesses have been impacted by COVID, but I don't know any business that's ever done this many times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so let me ask you this question,
Cyberpunk.
then I'll look at questions in the comments if you guys have a few extra minutes. Thank you
Yeah, of
for hanging
course.
out
I
tonight.
have plenty of time. I ain't got nothing going on.
Awesome. So let me ask you a question because I know Tommy is passionate about this. I
Very.
know this is his baby, and I know he loves to be hands-on with this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Tommy should back off the reins a little bit and let a PR person handle some of this, someone who's trained in this? Because I don't think Tommy's trained in PR in this degree. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
someone who's more tempered in their answers. Sometimes they're bland, but they don't make promises they can't keep or that are unexpected. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do
Are
you
we
think it would help if he did allow someone to be a different figurehead? Because a lot of the drama seems to surround him, not the system itself.
like in
Mm-hmm.
public?
Like in public, or even sometimes some of the, like you look at the cell phone companies and there's the AT&T girl, right? And there's the can you hear me now guy, and there's
Right.
people, and even the president, every president has a press secretary, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they do that because it's smart to do that,
Right.
Yep.
because it doesn't get them in trouble. Do
Mm-hmm.
you think they would be smart to take a page out of basic business and let PR take over this stuff?
I think with certain things in certain areas, when it comes to certain um like how do I'm trying to think of like how to say. I think in certain areas, yes, I do think that maybe he should have like a PR person to handle certain things. When it
Mhm.
comes to like online interactions with some people who are, wanting like legitimate answers and have legitimate criticisms and are presenting those. I do feel like maybe at this point, considering when he's tried, people clearly don't like him or his responses. That maybe it is time to have someone do that. As far as like the public events go, no. I think a lot of people respected and liked that he was there and present. I think that he needs to be there and present if he is the CEO of the company, and I think people like to see the CEOs and talk to them. If the Nintendo CEO came out at a convention or something, people would love that. So I think as far as events, I think Tommy needs to be there and be himself, because the way he is in the events, you could see how genuine he is, how happy he is, how you could feel his vibe and his energy. I think that people in the public at these events, when they meet him, need him there to have that personal connection. But as far as online, I think, yeah, maybe for online stuff, maybe it might be time just so, because if people aren't going to listen to him at this point, he the best thing for them to do is find somebody who they will want to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, he
and
has said that he's backing off, and I've noticed he kind of has, with the exception of
Right.
anything like forums and stuff, with the things I don't follow anyhow. I don't know anything about that stuff. But I'm gonna second what Saggy just said there as far as personal appearances. Reading his words on a forum and hearing him talk in an interview does not even come close to what it's like to be one on one with him. He's one of those people that when you start talking to him, you get this feeling. You get this feeling. It's hard to describe. It's hard to describe it. I'm not trying to sound like I'm, the president of Tommy Tellerico fan club,
That's
but
my role.
you totally get it when he's talking one on one, whether you're into the thing or not. You hear his genuine passion for it, um, and he just so much wants to bring you aboard with it, so you feel that same thing that he's feeling. If that makes any sense. In person, he is the most genuine individual you will ever. He is the most genuine person I have heard in a long time
Yeah.
in person. And
Yeah.
you totally get what he's trying to do when he's talking about it one on one or in front of like 4 or 5 people who are just watching him demo something or whatever.
Right.
Um, Online, it is what it is. I can't speak on that. That's for you to talk to him about. No, I'm serious. There's a lot of things that were brought up today that I stayed quiet about, not because I was afraid of an answer, but because I genuinely can't talk about it because I don't have an opinion. That would be a you and Tommy conversation. But if you were to meet him, just take away all the BS, take away all the whatever, whether it's positive or negative, and just hang out with the guy. Let him talk about his product. Let him show it to you. Let him encourage you to do whatever it is with the thing, because he's there rooting for you the whole time when you have that
Right.
controller in his hand,
Right.
you know. And I've spoken to him when him and I talk, and I don't mean to take over now, but when him and I talk online, 80% not Amico related. Him and I talk, you know, like we share like memes together. We have the same kind of a political deal going on, you know. And that's the kind of interaction I have with him. A lot of the stuff that Saggy's talking about, I'm oblivious to. I have no idea. Him and I talk on that. And once you get to that point, which I'm not saying everyone should be personal friends with Tommy, but if you go to one of these events, I guarantee as long as you can put the BS aside in your head and just interact with what's happening in the moment,
Right.
you'll come away with a different opinion. You may not still like it and you may still have your criticisms, but as far as the individual itself, you will say, okay, I get it. He's not this shyster guy. He's not shady. He's
Right.
not trying to sell snake oil. Now, whether you think the product's going to work or not, that's for you to decide.
Right. I
But
mean,
the individual is as genuine about this as it can be.
right.
And to say otherwise is just false, outright false.
Right. And to add to that, it's like from a business perspective, that's why I gave my answer from a business perspective, because I've owned a business before, so I have business experience, so I can understand what NSG is saying when it comes to like PR things.
Yes.
The thing is, like, I personally don't have a problem with Tommy how he handles his business, because it's his business, and if that's how he is, then I respect another businessman's business practice if that's what they if because at the end of the day it affects him, not me, right? And I know people take that as, oh well, she encourages, she's supporting or looking blind. It's like, no. Here's the thing, we know Tommy, right? We've met him, we know him, we are friends with him, and we see how much he really loves what he's making and what he's made and what he's coming out with. We see that passion, we see that motivation, we see that drive, that glow in him, and we know that it hurts him when he sees people bashing on it. It's like, it's something, as an artist or anything, like, you're proud of your work. Even YouTubers, when we make our videos, we might look back on our videos like, wow, I'm really proud I made this video, like, so it's like you're proud of it. And when you see people just say all these things that they say, that makes you upset, that makes you angry. And then what happens is you get a Tommy gonna Tommy. You get Tommy, you get Tommy getting, feeling upset. And it's a normal human reaction. But when you're looking at it from a business perspective, again, we're talking about optics here. I understand how optics work. As obviously everybody here understands how optics work. So I can understand why people have their issues with how Tommy is because he's responding to people attacking his child, his brainchild, right? And I can understand that, which is why I'm like, he's gonna be, and the person in the comments, right? CEOs can't have normal human reactions, and for the most part, I can see most people saying that they don't want a CEO who does that, but some people do want CEOs who are very
Why not?
relatable.
CEOs are only like robotic idiots.
Right, like
why not have someone a little bit more personal?
Right, most CEOs don't give a crap about us. They really don't. They don't know our names. They don't know we exist. They don't care. They might meet us once, never remember our names or faces again. Tommy is not one of those people. Tommy is a CEO that's very hands-on, and he is very approachable. Even if you're somebody who came in and he had noticed, and that happened in Crayola. Just a quick little story. In Crayola, there was this young man who on Twitter, he made a tweet at Tommy saying, I'm going to go to this event and make Tommy very uncomfortable, right? And we saw him. I was there right next to Tommy. And I remember Tommy saw him and he poked me. He said, "Hey, I think that's that kid that said he's gonna make me feel uncomfortable." He's like, "Let's go say hi to him." I was like, "All right, let's go." And we approached him and we said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And Tommy brought up the tweet and he's like, "Why'd you say that, man?" And he was laughing, smile on his face, being very nice. And the kid was very like he looked uncomfortable, which was ironic. And he played the Amico and he wrote an article which was very fair. And even Tommy was like, see, like he doesn't mind the criticism. When people say he can't take criticism, it's like he can't take criticism. He can take criticism. He just can't take it when people say it in a way where it's like, "Oh, so Tommy, why'd you do this, you little liar?" When you say it like that, of course Tommy's gonna look at you like, "Excuse me?" Like, don't come at him sideways. And there were a lot of people who were, quote, haters that they show up thinking that this is going to be awful and thinking that they're going to make Tommy and all the YouTuber shills feel some type of way, or we're going to attack them or something. No, I tell everybody, listen, if you are critical of the Amico and there is an Amico event near you, please go. Please go. Please come say hi to us. Introduce yourselves. Come and just have fun. That's what we were about, having fun. And Tommy just loves seeing that. That's all.
I want to get this question and get back to the Tommy thing, but has anyone heard of beta tester programmers to test the Amico games? Yes. In Tommy's video where they visited the Utah office, they showed beta people game testing Space Strikers. So it is happening. Is it happening enough? I can't say. Obviously we're having some quality issues here and there. Someone brought up Nick Richards and John Alvarado as better people to handle the interview side. And I will say, I've heard both of those guys do interviews. I'm just talking about their interviews. And they both came off as very personable, very nice, very inoffensive, and very down to earth, if that makes sense. Tommy, sometimes you feel like his head is in the clouds and just dreaming. That's what I mean. He's like dreaming out loud sometimes. And these guys are just giving you the basic facts. So I can understand that. Someone, let me see if I could find the comment. Love this time. Here it is. Muzzkind says, "I met Tom a few times over the past couple decades. He's definitely charming and enthusiastic. I want to buy a car from him though. Haha." And like that's kind of the vibe I get, is like Tommy seems like a fun guy to have a pizza with and play some games. He comes across that way. It's just, if you're going to be the CEO of a company, you have to know when to turn it on and turn it off. Like Steve Jobs of Apple had a famous temper behind the scenes, but you never saw it in front of the camera, right? He would really throw down behind the scenes. John Madden, anybody know John Madden? John Madden, when Trip Hawkins talked about meeting him, Trip Hawkins, who used to run Electronic Arts, a founder of it, I believe, he said when he met John Madden, it was amazing because John would be on air, just giving his coverage of football games. The moment the camera went off, he'd start cursing like a sailor. The moment it went back on, it went away. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, like, I appreciate you guys because, for the past almost 2 hours, okay, for the past 2 hours, you guys have been so awesome because you've respected my channel. You've been so professional. And I do think that's something either Tommy needs to learn, or when it comes to public stuff, just say, hey, this person take over that part. And because I was listening to a Nick Richards interview, and you guys can see if this kind of comes across as what you think Tommy is, but he referred to Tommy as P.T. Barnum. And this is an Intellivision guy who's friend with Tommy. And what I think he meant by that is Tommy is like the ultimate showman. And he likes to put on a show, but sometimes it makes you nervous because you don't know what he's going to say next. And it's going to get you in trouble. Okay, I'm reading in between the lines here. Okay. So I'm not saying that's what. Do you ever get that idea that he likes to put on a show?
Of course, he is a showman. He's a musician. Why wouldn't he be?
He's a lot like me, so yeah, I'm gonna say yeah.
As far as P.T. Barnum, I don't know if I can speak on that, but because that might imply that he's putting on a show to pull the wool over your eyes a little bit.
And I don't think that's what.
That.
I don't think that's what Nick meant, because obviously,
I hope not.
No,
I think he's talking about the showman side.
Yeah, Tommy's a lot like me, which is why we are close and why we clicked right away. We both have very strong personalities. We're very outspoken. We don't give a crap about the things we say when we should. But that just but when it comes to like putting on a show, it's like I like to make people laugh. So I do that with humor. So sometimes I'll say something and overdo it and be a little extra, as they will call it, because it sometimes makes people laugh, and sometimes it makes people smile, or So I think when it comes to putting on a show, it's more like Tommy's a lot like me. We just like to be funny and be energetic and put out like good vibes. So yeah, sometimes Tommy will put on a show to make somebody smile or laugh, or he'll say something to kind of like throw some shade at people. And it's like that's just his personality. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Some people just like to just be like, hey, I want to be funny today, so we're gonna be funny.
Yeah, and I think I'm all about giving people second and third chances. And I think, could Tommy learn from this? He talks about how this is the first time they've done this. They're new to this game.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they learn this lesson, because there are people, investors, fans, who are going to get hurt if things go sour. And I don't want to see that happen. I want to see you guys happy with your purchases. If you get the Amico Saggy, I'm assuming you probably will, and creep with yours. I want to see people happy with this thing, because day one I was like all excited about this thing. But
Yeah.
man, the drama, like save the drama for your mama. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Like
it's
stop.
silly.
Boston can't be an excuse. You got to, if you're
No,
going to
you're
run a
right. It
country,
can't be an excuse, and maybe that's why I'm not having so much of a problem with it. I agree with a lot of people, including yourself, that maybe he should take a back seat a little bit, but he's just so energetic and excited about his own little thing going on here. And now playing it, I totally get why. Um, but,
when you said that, creep, can I give you the image I put in my head, because I know the Amico is Tommy's baby.
right.
Can I give you you're at the school, and you talked about how one of your kids was at a school drama or play, right?
Yeah, yeah, she
Yeah.
did a big time.
Tommy right now to me comes across as a dad who, when their daughter comes on stage and it's a serious dramatic moment, jumps up
Oh.
and down and says, "Go, Alyssa! Woo!
That's my baby.
That's
Yeah.
my and it's like
Tommy would. Tommy would.
it's like it's making a scene, it's making people uncomfortable. It's like, dude,
Right.
be proud of your kid, but give her flowers after the show. Don't yell in the middle.
Tommy is
Mhm.
that person. That Tommy is 100% that guy that would totally be the dad that would be like, yeah, that's my baby, that's my girl. And she's like, Dad, stop. Like
And I think that's like, because when I posted a video when it came out that there was an investor in one of those, I was literally kind of embarrassed. I was like, dude, I like Intellivison. I like the brand. Please take care of this,
Mhm.
and so I hope that I hope Tommy and Intellivison take some of these things to heart and are learning these. I'm not saying they can't, but I do think it's a lesson that needs to be learned,
Yeah.
and you basically, the way I see it, this Amico, you got one shot. You're not going
Oh,
to
he
get a
knows
second.
that. Believe me, he knows that.
You're not
Right.
going to get another shot.
But here's the thing too, is like if he doesn't make these mistakes, how does he learn? Right? That's what I say all the time. Like if we don't make mistakes, how are we gonna learn and grow from them? So like, yeah, he's gonna have hiccups. He has had a lot of them, but how do you expect him to get better if you're just gonna continuously hold it over his head for the next, for the entire duration? I understand it's something he needs to work on. And
Yeah,
could have.
and how do you learn? Well, if you're a multi-million-dollar company, you hire a professional to take you through it, and maybe they do.
That could be true.
I mean, I'm all about learning from mistakes, but if you're going to be in front of the camera and in front, this is a multi-million-dollar company. You put money in this area. That's what you do. You put resources towards there. At least that's my opinion.
No, that's a fair opinion. That's a fair opinion.
There's other people who've done that. There are professionals, and I'm sure in California there are as well. So I'm going to wrap up things very, very soon. Thanks again, Saggy and Creep, for being part of this.
Yeah, of
I'll see if
course,
there's
man.
any
Thanks for inviting us.
I'll see if there's any comments or any questions in this stream. I mean, people are talking, and I thank y'all in the comments for being pretty civil for the most part. So let me ask you guys this while I'm waiting to see if there's any comments. When does the Amico have to come out by?
Oh, it has to come out next year. It has to, at least by next year. It has to. This is probably like the final year. In my opinion, this is like the final year. It has to come out next year.
You agree, Creep?
I do agree. I would have originally said before the end of year, but I think reaching Q1 is is paramount. I think it's paramount.
Reaching Q1, so you'd say by
Yeah, I think what's going to end up happening is a lot of people are going to just start dropping off, and I
Yeah.
know nobody wants that. Not the people who will drop off, not Tommy, not the company. Um, Again, I don't know anything about business, so I can't really. It's not an educated comment, but I think if he doesn't come out in the first quarter, I think that might start creating the coffin. I hope not.
Yeah.
I pray to God
Yeah.
it doesn't, but
so
Yeah, that's my guess. Is it has to come out next year.
So, March 31st, 2022, it's at GameStop. So I made a video about this. And,
Mhm.
and from what Tommy has said, I guess in the private Facebook group, because he didn't say it on my channel or he didn't say it that publicly that I saw,
Mhm.
but that is a placeholder. But I also in my video said, man, that would be like a Tommy thing, like right at the last second. Like I said Q1, it's March 31st. I
Right.
think,
I think
yeah.
that was more GameStop that did that than him. I can't. Again, I'm not
Well,
commenting on any
that's what
knowledge
he
I have.
says. He
I'm
says
pretty
it was
sure they're like,
game.
"Hey, we have to put a date in there.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Is this safe?"
I'm gonna tell you right now, when it comes to GameStop, I'm not gonna take GameStop's word because I've already had to deal with GameStop, and I'm gonna tell you right now, their communication is so poor when it comes to this. It's just I can't take GameStop's word for things because I don't even know what's going on with GameStop. That's another story for another time. But I'm not gonna take GameStop's word for anything right now.
Now, and a lot of people in the chat now are talking about, I'm not going to put all the comments, but they're saying how, well, if it's going to come out by then, it should already be in the factories. It should already be being produced.
It is.
I will say that, Nick Richards did say that there was a plan. They have a new manufacturer where they could manufacture some systems in America first. It would cost them more, but to get them out and then switch over to China is one of the planes. So you say it is Saggy. What tells you that it's in the factories?
There was an article that was read on that stream I was on the Geek Getaway where we were reading it, and I think that's where it was, where they did say that it was in production. That the guy is it Hans, the guy in Germany, he said that they're in production.
And I will say this because I did catch it. I haven't seen every stream of Amico. I catch him here and there. Like when I'm doing stuff, I'll listen to him in background. And I did see a clarification from Tony saying that there might be a mistranslation there, and they may have been referring to the physical products that have already been produced,
Could
the
be. That could
RFID
be.
cards. So I just wanted to clear that up that it may not be in the article or in the factory right yet. I don't know. And it does, you do need time to get it out. I'm going to say that if it's not out by summer, we're in trouble.
Right.
Not I mean, they're in trouble because whatever, I'm not going to lose any sleep if the Amico doesn't come out, except I want my friend Atari Creep to be happening. I want Sega to be happy if they get an Amico. I want the people who bought it. I want it to be, I have to say it in a Trump voice. I'm sorry, China. Okay, so
China.
so it's gonna be huge.
Hugely.
That's as political as I'll ever get. Okay, and that's not saying anything one side or the other, but impressions are funny to me. So, anyways, yeah, I think they need to be out by summertime. I think so, or there's going to be trouble. There's going to be, yeah, that's just my opinion. Do you think that the Amico needs games with some more depth to them, or do you think all these like arcadey type titles are enough? Because I'm a guy who likes some depth. Like I would buy an Amico if the price was right and there was games for me and games for my family, but I want games that give me something to sink my teeth into. You know what I'm saying? Like bigger adventures, maybe what was that? Finnegan Fox might be a little bit of it. I don't know, but I'd like games that I can play for 10 hours.
Right.
So
Well, that's another niche somewhere else, though. You could still get that. I mean, I'm not saying they're never going to do that. I'm just saying, as far as I'm looking at the console, that's not its DNA. That's not its identity. So if that were the case, I mean, Saggy, you may know something more, but as far as I'm concerned, the identity of the console is what we've seen so far. Of course, they'll hopefully expand upon that. But as far as the other experiences, there's plenty of other ways to get that experience outside of Amico. Either way, they're trying to carve again. However you feel about this, they're trying to carve out their own niche, their own like little area of that market. Not necessarily competing against, but competing with, I suppose you'd call it. Um, let those guys do what they do well. Let Amico just do what it does well.
Mm-hmm.
And Genovi, yes, Ninja Golf 2. You are right.
Ninja Golf
they
2.
need Ninja
Yes.
Golf 2.
I
They
have.
need. Go ahead.
I don't know for a fact, but I do have a theory. So take this with a grain of salt because my last theory was clearly wrong. But so I've not been told this, but I do remember back when we used to do this podcast called Amico After Dark, where Tommy did say, because people were questioning him about Earthworm Jim. And one thing that stuck out to me, and this is why I thought he meant E3, but after the recent announcement, things might make more sense. So this is my theory. When he was asked about Earthworm Jim, he basically gave a vague answer that they can't announce anything until other things are announced first. Now, for me, I thought that meant the E3 event. So I was like, oh, we're going to see Earthworm Jim, and we did not. So, yeah, thanks for that, Tommy. But
Tommy's got a Tommy.
Right, Tommy's got a Tommy. So, if you didn't hear, they just announced that there is an Earthworm Jim TV show in the works.
Yes, I just saw that.
That makes me wonder if this is the announcement that needed to be made before they make their announcement regarding Earthworm Jim. So that's just my theory that as far as games that, for what you were talking about, maybe that means Earthworm Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe only time will tell, right? Because we just have to wait. We just have to wait to see. Has one of the things that I don't know if people know this, but when Tommy first brought up the Amico before it even had a name, okay, this is one of the reasons why I was kind of burned, okay, because I'm a retro gamer, all right, and when he first brought it up, he said, "Here's what's going to happen for $150 to $180."
Oh, I want to answer this one.
Okay, you could do this. He said, well under $200. This is one of the first times he said, you are going to get. He said, you're going to get the majority of the Intellivision library. He like the old games. He did clarify that some of the games wouldn't, there was licensing issues that would hold them up. But so I'm thinking like the flashback games, right? There's like 60 games on the flashback that Intellivision has rights to any day they want. Some of them they changed the name, but he says for this price you're going to get the 2 controllers, you're going to get you're going to get all these Intellivision games, and you're going to get 7 reimagined games from the Intellivision. That sounds like just a buffet of retro goodness, right? That's what he said. That's one of the reasons why I kind of like, wow, we went from that to extra price, less games, and we haven't heard about the old games. Here's my question, and Creep, you can add anything you want after this.
Of course.
When you were at the event, or have you guys heard what's going on with the original television games? I know he's mentioned
those are going to be. I hope this isn't something I wasn't supposed to say, but I'll say it anyway. And Tommy, you can shoot me right in my groin the next time you see me.
I should say this, but I'm going to say
I can't remember at this point what has been said and what hasn't been said. But the whole deal with the original Intellivision titles is he doesn't want to put those out first right away because he wants the machine to have not. If he were to just put it out with that, it would just be another plug and play system, right? So he didn't want to put that idea in people's heads. They are going to be released in bundles, as far as like, one package will have, say, 10 games. Don't quote me. I'm just giving an example. And they'll be released periodically after the launch for those who do want it. Now, as far as when you were talking about all that coming with it at first, I don't remember that, so I'm not going to yay or nay that quote. But I will say this, and this is probably my most favorite debate because it baffles my mind so much how much people get it wrong. And I am not a smart man. I am not. If you watched my videos, I can't even talk, never mind think, okay? But people kept asking, okay, we know what it's called. It's called the Amico. How much is it going to be? How much is it going to be? How much is it going to be? And every time he brought up, there probably is an example where he didn't, but he would say we're shooting for, or the goal is to try to get this between 150 and 180. And I remember that very specifically because I am also not a man of wealth or means. So I
Mhm.
was worried about whether I would be priced out on it. And then when it was announced after the fact, whatever the reason is, I'm not going to speculate, that it is going to be an increased cost for the system and whatever it comes with. I was legitimately bummed out about that. But I remember not being too PO'd because I remember him saying this is what we're shooting for. And I remember the whole time going, please make that, please make that. So I know for a fact in the beginning there was never an actual price nailed down. Maybe in an interview he made it sound like that, but when he first came out with those numbers, 150 to 180, I remember very specifically it was a goal. Now, unfortunately, they were unable to meet that goal. Again, for whatever reason you want to speculate, whether you think he's just trying to gouge, or whether the technology was a little less than or more than he was anticipating, or whatever the case may be. But as far as the cost is concerned, I would think at this point it would have just sunk in that it was just a projection. He was asked over and over and over again, how much, how much. So he said, this is what we're shooting for.
So
And
so
unfortunately,
I'll
yeah,
push back on that just a little bit,
go
if I
ahead.
may, because here's the deal. They actually put the price range in a press release.
Hmm.
They never said it's a goal. They said price range, this to
Right.
this, right? And when you do a press release,
Hmm.
man, you better stick to it or have a good reason.
No, I
And
agree with you.
and when he was at Portland Retro Gaming Expo, when he first announced it, he
Hmm.
said, "Here's the price." And I could pull up the video. I don't know how to pull up the video here, but I could
No,
like
that's
post a
fine.
clip sometime. But he actually said when the price came up, he go and it said, the 149 to 179. He said, "You read that right." And he goes on and talks about it. He says, like, and you're like, well, what's the range for? Well, in case we want to do something extra, but it will be under $200.
Right.
He said that, he didn't say, it might go above. He said it's going to be under $200. This is a
Okay.
range in case we want to do something. So I will say that he did make it appear very clear that that was the price. And I
Hmm.
will say, I'll share with everyone here my theory why the price went up so much, because it is pretty significant to go from 150 to 180 to 250. That's a pretty significant price increase, in my opinion, for anything, right? That's like 40% increase.
Hmm.
So why he was on the Slopes interview, and Slopes brought it up. And do you know the reason he gave for the price change?
No, I didn't watch the interview.
So the ending interview, the reason he gave was the capacitive touchscreens.
Okay.
He said it added $25 cost to the system. Well, that doesn't explain the rest, because if
Hmm.
you were saying 150 to 180, 150 plus 25 is 175. You can add five more bucks profit.
Right,
You're
right,
still
right.
you're still doing that. So my theory is, and this is just a theory, my theory is part of it is they added the capacitive touchscreens, the components. Part of my theory is that they wanted to do a few extra things here and there. COVID did raise prices, but they announced this price change before COVID really impacted prices all around the world.
Hmm.
When they announced this was when prices were speculated to increase on electronics 5%, right? I think they have a lot of overhead. I really do, because he talks about how they have 60 employees, 600 years experience, and they have like 5 offices around the world.
Right.
And they're paying these guys. And when you take into COVID, that's an extra year you're paying these guys. I think they built up a lot of overhead and a lot of debt and during COVID.
Yeah, it's possible.
I don't think it's so much the technology that went in it and the price increase. And I
Hmm.
think what happened is they announced that price increase, and then the prices of components went up even higher.
Right.
And there I think that's why there's some problems. That's just my theory.
See,
Okay.
I get asked the question about the price as well. My only answer I give, because it's the only answer I have, is I don't know what his books look like. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I don't know what the books look like. I don't know what is costing what, how much money they put in, how much money they expect coming back. I'd have to look at the books to see where the money why the price was changed, because I wasn't around when this was announced. I've been involved in this for maybe going on a year now. So I wasn't around when this was originally first
Right.
announced. So I don't know why it's that high. I'd have to say, hey, like, what are you spending your money on? Like, how much are the parts each, and how much are you paying your employees? How much for rent? How much for electricity for these buildings? Like, there's so much cost that I don't know to actually answer that question at all. I just know, like, why do you think it's so high, Saggy? I need to look at his books. And I can tell you exactly why it's that high if I get a look at those books. But I don't think anyone aside from the financial person who handles this stuff, and Tommy himself, has that information.
So let me ask you this, and we probably will end soon. I'll see if there's any more questions in the chat. And if you guys have any comments or questions, I want to give you an opportunity to ask them or say anything you want to.
Mhm.
But do you think the price is a little bit of an albatross around the neck? Meaning they're targeting soccer moms, right? And they're going to Walmart, and they see this next to a Nintendo Switch, which, Nintendo obviously has the bigger name, right? I mean, you'd have to admit that it has a bigger name. Do you think that price is going to make it hard for it to succeed out in the wild?
Um,
I don't know. I could say for me, $200 is a sweet spot, and I've maintained the whole time. But that's only because of my own personal finances, that the prices that it went to are a little high in my opinion. But the only reason I did go for the Founders Edition at the $300 price point is because of everything it came with. I itemized everything, and it actually became a decent value. Now, some people will be like, "Well, I don't think it's a value because I don't like what's coming with it." Well, that's subjective, you know. At
Mhm.
the end of the day, it still has a value to it, you know, a price point.
mhm.
So, price is probably going to be, if anything, probably the only thing. Again, I don't know business, so I don't know the market.
Um,
I
as far
personally think it's a little high, but that's just me.
Right. As far as the business aspect, because it's a new console and it's not something that like regular people might remember. Like, a lot of people who are in the Amico community are in it because they remember the original television, right? So, as far as like the public, the non fans of Intellivision or
Hmm.
just regular casual people, I don't. It's hard to say if they'll be willing to spend $250 because some people would. Some people have that kind of money to just blow
Right.
on something that they might be like, "Oh, what's this? This looks cool. It's 250, no problem. I make friggin' X amount of money a month. Who cares?"
Right.
But it is probably, I would say, is concerning because it is brought up a lot when we have these discussions, the price point. So that is something that does concern me a little bit as far as like a business perspective, because that's something that's the biggest concern for a lot of people. Because I've asked even people who are, I guess, against the Amico, like, what is your issues? And the two main issues they have with this system is not even the system itself; it's Tommy and the price point.
Right.
So
Yeah, 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 I think, I
You know what?
think.
Let me add one more thing. I don't mean to
Go ahead.
interrupt you, Bud. Um, but coming from the guitar world, so maybe I do know a little bit about finance and business and all this stuff. I do know there's a thing called the perceived value of an item. And let's take away all of us in the chat and here talking who have studied and watched this thing for X amount. You know, mom and dad are going into Walmart and they see all this stuff or whatever. Um, I just know from the guitar world that certain price points automatically come with certain stigmas.
Hmm.
So if the guitar is a little bit more out of your range, you tend to lean towards the value, saying, okay, well, that's going to be a quality thing. That's why it's X amount of dollars. When you see a guitar coming from China for $99 and you have no idea how they're making a profit, the first thing you think of is it's going to be garbage. But lately, it hasn't been. You have to give it a setup, and I'm not going to sit there and say it's like craftsmanship is on par, but um, you see certain price points on certain things, you automatically give it kind of a yay or nay, so to speak, as far as quality
mhm.
is concerned. And I think in especially electronics, I mean, he's not necessarily going to boutique status, but I think it's important to, and I'm sure he's got someone who's done the analysis on this up and down, left and right.
Mhm.
I wonder if the price isn't there for that reason alone. I mean, again, this is all speculating. I'm not talking
Yeah.
for anybody, but if it were only $100 and it was considered a video game system and it was sitting on the shelf next to the Nintendo Switch.
Right.
What would you think? You'd go, no, that's probably going to be crap.
So let me get to this comment Genovi makes. I think the biggest issue is no killer app and no killer app into work. Software sells hardware. I mean,
Amen.
I would say that Earthworm Jim 4 might be considered the closest thing they have to a killer app. But do you guys think that the Amico needs more killer apps, more games that make people turn their heads, outside of the cornholes and
I
the
don't
Astro
know.
Smashes?
Yes.
I agree with the sentiment that, the games make the system, But considering where he's going to be going with this, see, we're all looking at this from a typical gaming market viewpoint. And it's not going to be treated that way. I do know a little bit about how he's going to market it. We talked about it maybe about a year and a half ago. And the way he is actually going to market it to his target audience, that may not be an issue 100%.
Right, because the way I get his viewpoint is like he's marking that, hey, soccer mom, here is a safe system for
Right.
your family
Right.
that
Right.
everyone can enjoy together. In so
Right.
many words, you don't have to be a technological wizard. I don't know how many soccer moms are out there who are looking for that. I'm not saying it's not out there. I understand it. There is a need for that. Is it enough to sustain the system by itself? Because I've been kind of on the side. I made a video where I compared this to the Wii and lessons they could learn for the Wii. When
Right.
Nintendo made the Wii, they had games for grandma, but they also had games for just that one hardcore gamer. They had both. And I kind of think they need that. They need some of the hardcore games, because what would happen then is retro gamers like us, we're going to buy it. We're going to put it in our homes, and we're also going to play it with our kids and our nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
It becomes more than a system. Like the television flashback, that was just for us.
Right.
That's what makes that go beyond. Go ahead, Saggy. I'm sorry.
Well, I did say yes to your question, but that's mainly for like more hardcore gamers. If he wanted to get that type of audience to play and buy the Amico, yeah, he would need a really a good couple of games that would make people outside that. But he doesn't, like, the Amico isn't meant to be a sit down and play for hours kind of console. It's supposed to be sit down, play with your family for a little bit, and then go about your business. It's not meant for hardcore gamers, and that's the difference, I guess. What he's trying to set apart from Nintendo is that he doesn't want it to be like Nintendo has games for everyone. Like, you can play with your kids, but you could also be a gamer and play it by yourself and play titles that are more mature and more for yourself and not for your family or kids. The Amico is simply supposed to be a pick up and play for a little bit, get your gaming out of your system, and then go outside and enjoy and touch grass. Like, I mean, it's not meant to be for hardcore gamers.
And the function of the system isn't going to be approached the same way as, say, our Switch that we have here. The Switch is like, okay, so I have this game. I'm just going to sit down and play it for however long and all that. The approach to the Amico is more of a, we got a couple of people here, let's pull this thing out. There's like the fondue set, let's pull this thing out. Let's have some fun with a couple of cool cats that are over here. Or, it's a rainy day, the kids are bored. Hey, let's all get together and play the thing. So you also have to look at a completely different approach to how the games are going to be initiated. It's not the same as like the console that's constantly on your TV. Like when we were kids, I had my Atari all the time on the TV. And when no one was using the TV, I'd hit that switch box and I'd play for however long. Whereas here, it's more geared towards a completely different scenario. It's not hey, you can do it. It will allow you to sit down and just play a few games, obviously, but it's not that kind of an approach when it comes to actually using the machine. Even its initial how people or when people are going to play is completely different than what we're all used to.
So it's interesting some of the different opinions in the chat
Mm-hmm.
because there are opinions like, yeah, you need the hardcore gamers to bring it in the house because the
No,
grandmas
not
and the moms.
necessarily.
Well, that's I'm just saying what they're saying
No, I
is
know, and I'm
and
just
and
responding.
and they're saying that, but then you have Ordo here who says, I figure one QVC infomercial with Tommy on stage and all the moms and grandmas will buy them all up.
I bet you
And
he's right.
and you know what? Honestly, sometimes okay, I'll say it.
Go
Sometimes
ahead.
Tommy reminds me of the ShamWow guy.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
hey, check this out. Look what this does. Isn't it great? Like a quick sale guy, right?
Uh-huh.
The
Uh-huh.
hard sale, quick sale,
Right.
whatever he's selling is the best ever. And so I could actually see Tommy Tellerico going on QVC and maybe having success. Hey, just for 5 easy payments of fit $49.99, you can have this in your home. I could see that, and you don't have to worry about
And
the
you know what?
kids. And so I could actually see
I
that.
think it would fit perfectly there. I mean, take away the humor part of that. Again, going back to you're approaching this machine differently than other ones that you already probably have. Yeah.
Can I address Genovi's comment that you had up earlier?
Sure, absolutely. Let me dig it up and if I can find it. There we go.
So you're right. It would be kind of like a leapfrogish kind of thing, but like I said, I think the whole initial goal is like, again, he doesn't want people to waste away sitting in front of the Amico. He wants it to be a like, pull it out, have some fun with your family when they're over. Pull it out, have some fun. If you got kids, they have a slumber party or something. You could bust out the Amico. They can all play together and stuff, like things like that. It's not meant to be for that hardcore sit down and play for hours. And I think that's why when he explained it to me, I was like, that sounds kind of good. Like you're trying to go back to like the old ways when people used to play games and they weren't always, sitting there all day, every day, like hardcore gamers are now. And I think that alone is like why I really do like the moral aspect of it, is because it's trying to be its own thing, but going back to the old ways and seeing if that can survive in a new generation. I think that's the biggest hump they have to overcome.
Right.
Is that the competition now, gaming has evolved, gaming has changed. And it's like back in the day when they try to bring back bell bottoms in like the early 2000s, you know what I mean? Like, try to bring back bell bottoms, like, from the 70s, and they try to bring that back. And for a while it was trending and it worked and everyone was wearing bell bottoms now. All the girls were, and it was like the thing to do. If you didn't have bell bottoms in school, you were getting clowned, So, I mean, I think that's the biggest hump that they have to overcome, is they're trying to come out going back to kind of like the old ways, in a world where the gaming has been, they have esports, for crying out loud. Like no one ever thought video games wasn't going to be a sport, but it is. And that's the thing that they have to overcome. And that's kind of the hump they have to get over.
Right. And another thing to add on to that, there's a criticism which is 100% valid. Well, why is he constantly going to these gaming places and bringing it there? Well, it's because we're asking him to. You know what I mean? He's not even marketing this to his market yet. I mean, there's little peppers here and there, but we know about it because we follow these kind of things, And yes, he is going to, of course, want our money as well as Jimmy's mom's money. But
why Jimmy's mom? What did Jimmy's mom do? Why is he trying to rob Jimmy's mom?
Because he wants her. He wants her money so they can play Amico.
She better earn that money.
but long story short, until he does start marketing where he market, I mean, we know about. We're going to follow it. Of course, we're seeped into all of this, and the places that we are going to go are these places. And I'll admit, whenever someone says not for a hardcore gamer, brings it to a hardcore gamer place. Yeah, because we're the ones involved with it right now. But if it was at a bingo hall, would you go? I mean, I suppose some people would, but
I like bingo.
I guess I don't like bingo, but
it's fun.
But I just use that as an example. The places where I would think it would have to be advertised for. I mean, the bus idea with the traveling thing is pretty cool, and kiosks at the mall, which he has also spoken about, is going to be cool, because there's going to be a lot of the individuals he's going to be targeting going to all of that. But right now, we know about it. Why not get the hype in there for all of us to talk about it online? So when the actual information does go to where he's directing it to, excuse me, I keep hitting the box, my microphone's on. there'll already be some kind of information out there. Now, unfortunately, whoever goes out down this rabbit hole is not going to know what to think, and unfortunately, that sucks. Excuse
Yeah,
the expression.
yeah, if
Well,
grandma-
not really sucks. This whole see the best thing. The thing is, like, if you ask me, do I think that the Amico is going to be successful
Mhm.
for the first year once it comes out? Heck yeah. And the only reason why it's going to be successful is because all of the controversy surrounding it. Now people are curious, they're interested.
That's
People are
an
like, "Oh, this
interesting,
thing's
yeah.
gonna suck. This thing's gonna suck," but then they're probably gonna want to try it. You know, and like before, nobody knew the Amico existed. I didn't know the Amico existed. And you know what got me to know what the Amico existed? It wasn't even just Tommy. I was still not interested that much after I left that recorded interview with him. Right? When I walked away from that, I was like, well, it's cool, but I still don't think it's for me. He said, well, you got to give it a chance. I was like, well, when it comes out, I'll give it a chance. After that, the conversation was over. We left it behind. You know, I talked to Tommy a little bit about it because I was like, you know, hey, it was nice to meet you. You know, thanks for coming on the stream type of conversation. Then shortly after that, and I'm so sorry, Sinister Moon, but I'm going to say the word. You better get your shot ready. The drama happened, right? And that was what was more interesting than the Amico. Was like, why is it why is somebody coming to a small 200 sub channel, because we did it on a friend's channel, a 200 sub channel, people we've never seen before who weren't here for anything else, but because we did an interview with Tommy. What the heck? Like, I was so confused. So I did a live stream and talked about it, and then guess what? They all came to my channel, and now I'm just like, this is fascinating. So that's what I mean. I got involved. So when people call me a shill and stuff, I'm like, the haters are the reason why I know I'm more invested in this than before, because, you know, I was that's why I think it's going to be a success for the first year, because everyone is talking about it. You know, everyone, whether you like it or whether you hate it, it's being talked about. And the first year, yeah, once it launches, everyone knows that in this community is going to be, I need to see this thing. Now we got to see what the hype was all about. Now all the haters got to be like, I got to make sure that what I was saying for the past 3 years about how crap this is, now I got to make sure it's actually crap or not. So yeah, it's going to be successful first year. After that, that's the real goal. That's a real challenge. That's the real challenge. It's how long is this going to continue to be successful? That's the big thing. Like the first year, sure. After that, we don't know.
So I will say, could you imagine if Grandma went on YouTube and just typed in Intellivison Amico to see what this thing was about? What would happen, you know? And I will say, I am Mr. Family Friendly. I appreciate the family friendly aspect of what Tommy's doing, what the system is. I find you don't need profanity and extreme violence for games to be fun. I'm just a believer in that. Okay. And if people like that stuff, that's fine. So I'm all about that. I do think that if Tommy's going to be a CEO of Mr. Family Friendly CEO, I do think when he's on streams, he should not use profanity. I mean, I have heard him light profanities here and there. So that's just like a side note. But I do think I've heard the term that they view retro gamers, or Tommy does, as low hanging fruit. I've heard that, you know, and I'm going to say that I don't think Intellivision should treat retro gamers as low hanging fruit. The Intellivision name is still on the thing, right? And so I do think that they should throw them a bone a little bit. You know, give them something like, hey, we know these are games you can play with the family. Why not develop a few games here and there? Because when the Intellivision, one of my pet peeves about the E3 presentation was the first minute was all about Tommy and not about Intellivision. Like, he didn't touch really much on the Intellivision brand, but he talked a lot about how he made the oof sound. Okay. And I could go a year without hearing that again. All right.
Oof.
Yeah. Cause he brings, oh, and by the way, I have the Guinness Book of World Records for all this. Well, tell me about Intellivision. What's the brand that you're bringing back? Because Intellivision, it had games for everybody, and it wasn't afraid of having some deep games for its time. You know, some of those games were really deep. And I think it would honor the brand to have the cornholes, have the Astro Smashes, but also really have those games like the Treasure of Tarmans that offered something a little bit deeper. You know, that's just my kind of take on it. So we'll see what happens when this thing comes out. But I wanted to ask you guys one more question, and if there's no other questions, we'll end it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for all this time, guys. I really do appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
And the chat.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. Thank you.
and,
It was a great conversation.
and I'll tell this, I appreciate the chat. The chat has been pretty much drama free.
Good.
I mean, there's been stuff going on. There's people going back and forth, but you're not seeing like a bunch of craziness. If you know what I mean.
Well, I know some of these people. They are very familiar with me.
Well,
I got no issues.
Let me ask you, Saggy, does this chat seem a little calmer than your average chat on the Amico podcast or stream?
Well, some of the people in the chat, they make their content kind of on the against the Amico side. Some of them have made very fair arguments, and some of them, when I first met them, I will say they did come off a little rude and very, they would say things about like myself or some people, and I'm just like, that's not right. What are you talking about? But after like once we started communicating, like actually talking, I've been on some streams with some of the people that are in the chat, and actually talking like this, it's a different vibe than reading something, because you don't get tone or content, through text. So I might take something that somebody said in a more different tone in my head, but that's not what they meant. So after I stopped kind of like thinking like that, I'm like, okay, I would like to talk to these people because I want to understand where they're coming from. And some of them, I might not agree with how they do their content when it comes to Amico, but when I talk to them, it's not that same like negative, like jerky, condescending tone. They talk to me like I'm a person, and I talk to them like they're a person. And then when we have that, now we can have a conversation. And a lot of them do have like some fair criticisms. Some I still disagree with, but again, it's about how we communicate with each other. And yeah, I would say in the chat that I'm looking at it, like some of them said things that I was just like, but at the same time, like, I've talked to these people. I understand where some of them are coming from. So yeah, I'm not gonna, I would say it was a pretty good chat.
Yeah, here you go. You behaved. You got an achievement.
Yay! I didn't swear. I'm so proud of myself.
That's awesome. So the last question I had is cell phones. So I think John Alvarado mentioned that the cell phones, one of the things is that the system's supposed to be able to use cell phones as extra controllers, right? And the controllers are expensive. If you want to get, I don't know how much they're going to be, but if you wanted to get the 2 extra controllers to play the 4, because there's a lot of 4-player games on the system right now.
Yeah.
And if you want to get the 2 actual controllers, you're probably looking at least $50 a controller, if not more, from what they talk about, right? So you want to use the phone. Have you seen the phone being used at these events?
No.
And the other question is, has Tommy talked about which one of the things that's missing from the deep dives from the first one is that they don't talk about if the phones are if the games are compatible with the phones, because John Alvarado said depending on the game, not all the games are going to be able to work with the phone app, because there's things that the controller can do that the app can't. Because the controller has different motion controls in it, right? And not all phones have that. So he said that there's that. So I'm thinking that they need to be more clear at what games can actually use the app 100%. And I think that we should see it in the events.
I totally, after the event, that's the first thing I said too, is like, I have not done it with the phone. The only time we used the phone was at the Crayola event, and that was the emoji game, which worked fine, but there was no need for like motion control, I think. But yeah, I think any phone that has the capability of motion control, like I would say current generation phones, and probably up, I think anything older wouldn't be able to handle it. But I totally should have done that. And I thought about that too after the fact, like, oh, nobody's connected the phones, because I wanted to see how that worked. But yeah, I agree with you that they're like, yeah, we need to see the phones on.
Yeah. And Tommy says like the dial's pressure sensitive, and I like this. The phone app is a great idea. I think it's a great idea, but it's not going to work for all the games. And that's not clear right now, because I've only heard it in one interview. But they have said it can't. It's not, so that's something that I hope that they do more of. Genovi, we already answered the top Amico games, but I'll let you guys fill in. But I think Saggy said Finnegan Fox was her favorite, but she doesn't like any of the shooters like Rigid Force Redux, right?
Oh, that was fun.
I don't like the plane games. No, the Rigid Force was okay. It was it was like two that the second player is too OP for me.
Okay. And then Creep didn't like Missile Command, but you really liked Evil Knievel. Is that correct?
It was a toss up between Evil Knievel and Astro Smash. Astro Smash gets intense real quick, and it keeps you in the fight.
Let's see. Were the screen buttons shown at the events? Did you get to use them at all? I'm not 100% sure what.
I think I know what he's
Oh,
talking about.
for the phones.
I got to play around with it, but
okay.
it wasn't used.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've seen them before, but we didn't use them on the phones, but we did see them.
See, that's like, I think that's good ideas for future to show these, like, you know, Tommy's talked about all these things that can happen, but we need to see them happen. You know, tap the console to make the RFID card. We should see that, right? We should see the phone more often as a controller, I think is a good thing to do. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any more questions. Did you guys have any more comments or questions before we call it a night? Thank you guys again for staying on. 2.5 hours. We're a Lord of the Rings movie.
We're almost close to being a Zack Snyder Justice League movie.
Yeah.
No, I'm so glad that you reached out and wanted to have the conversation, because you know when I saw you and Genovi in the chat that day, and I didn't know really who you guys were, but I had heard, oh, they talk about Amico stuff, and then I was just like, oh, okay, you know, and I was like, well, what do you want to know? Because I mean, I can only, you know, talk so much from my experience, because that's basically all I really have. But I do appreciate that more people want to have an actual conversation over an argument. You know, it gets tiring always arguing, and I mean, I built my channel on it, but heck, I even have my limits, guys. Like, I gotta take a break sometimes, but I do like conversations, and I do, you know, like people talking about our experience or even asking me about mine, because you know it makes good conversation. It does make good content overall too, to just have these discussions. So you know, I do appreciate this so much, and yeah, that's all I really got.
Creep, you have anything to add?
No, not necessarily. I suppose if you take anything away from anything I say when it comes to this, and this is probably my Gen X coming out, the whole we're enemies thing is silly. You know, haters, that's silly. Shill, it's all becoming so silly over legitimately nothing, and the hyper focus from both angles. And you know what? I've been a part of some of the caca that's happened here and there, but for the most part, I try to stay out of it, and I do ignore it. And for the first 2 years or so, I did a damn good job doing that. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. I could just relay to you the experiences I've had, and just let you know that anything I say is genuine. It's not provoked. It's not requested, nor is it paid for. But in this whole thing, the hell with personalities that people, and I really do think this is an issue of personality, or personalities, I should say. But I just think it's getting to a point of silliness. It really is. When people are hyper focusing their day on certain things, anyway, it's just unhealthy. And whether you like something or don't like it, the debate is amazing. I started my channel because I had to, but after a while, I enjoyed the engagement with people. And going back to, I think I said it earlier, that people just want to win a conversation or an argument versus try to either learn or grow from it. And again, labels are thrown out there, and it's just it's becoming childish and stupid. And I'll be honest with you, and including myself, I think we all need to just sit back and just be damned ashamed of ourselves.
Speak for yourself, sir. I got monetized because of that. So
no, seriously though, to have some exciting conversation, nothing wrong with it. Jerry Springer made a whole career out of it. But when it becomes true hate and true anger, and again, I'm not saying I'm not guilty of it. I think as a people, and I'm not trying to get whatever it is. It's too late.
Philosophical.
Thank you. I have no teeth. It's tough to talk. But when Yeah, I mean, you guys get what I'm saying. You know the
Yeah.
thing, man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, can I just address one comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Kev Gret said, but aren't they friends of Tommy? How unbiased are their opinions? So number one,
100%.
you guys have to understand, we weren't always friends with Tommy. We just had met him, and when you meet Tommy, you'll have a conversation with him because as YouTubers, you meet people online, you talk to them, and you don't really know if what label you want to give him. Like, I'm associated with Tommy. I know who he is. I've talked to him a few times. That developed into a friendship. But when it comes to how unbiased, I have numerous times shown that I was unbiased when I've had my grievances with some of the things I mentioned. The E3 event, was not a fan, was not a fan. But being his friend, I can talk to him about that and be like, hey, like he'll be like, oh, what did you think? Well, Tommy, I mean, why didn't you show this? Or I was kind of disappointed. That's the thing. Like, we can still be unbiased, and tell Tommy things that we don't like about something he's doing, or things he's saying, and he takes that in, and he's fine with it. Like, here's the thing. I talk to a lot of people, and I started talking to people who have spent the last year or so bashing Tommy and the Amico, right? And I'm on streams with them, and Tommy is not a fan of those people, but he has not once ever told me not to do it. He's never once told me that he can't associate with me because I'm now associating or talking to the people who are in his eyes trying to ruin his business, right? And that should speak waves that Tommy is like, he can hate people, but also not hate people who associate with said people, if that makes sense, So yeah, we are his friends, but we also can be unbiased, because if I was biased, I wouldn't talk to the Geek Getaway, who is somebody who's made numerous videos, like exposing the Intellivision Amico or Tommy, right? Right? I wouldn't be associating with all of the people who said anything bad about Intellivision or the Amico, or had criticism about it. So if I was biased, I would just stick to a hug box, which is pro Amico people and just Tommy, but I don't. So yes, to answer that question, yes, I can be unbiased.
And just and to clarify too, at the beginning of the stream, we established that Creep and Saggy are pro Amico and friends with Tommy.
Right.
They came out with it. None of this is hidden. And to your credits, you guys have given some criticisms here and there
And
about the Amico.
I think it's important to add this too. I hope Tommy doesn't get mad that I mention this. First and foremost, we are friends. Tommy and I are friends to whatever degree he may think we are. Okay. But him and I, our relationship is more based off of commonalities. We're both guitar players. The Amico brought us to each other to hang out and talk online or everything. But again, it's political memes. It's, guitar stuff. It's music stuff. And sure, we talk about the Amico. But the last thing I really want to say, and I promise I won't talk unless there's a question directed at me after this. At the first Amico event, this is how serious you guys need to understand how truthful I will be about anything I talk about. Tommy himself came up to me, pulled me aside, and had this look on his face. This kind of, okay, what is this guy going to say when he gets on his camera? So even Tommy knows that if I did not like this thing, you would all know that I would say, you know what? I was wrong. And he pulled me aside and asked me, he says, so be honest, what are you going to be saying in your videos? I think he was legitimately not nervous because who am I? I mean, this guy's got 4 Ferraris and I have a 99 Suburban, right? But I think, well, my opinion was important to him because we had that friendly thing there too. But he was legitimately, I don't want to say nervous, but he had that look on his face like, I hope this guy is still on board because, whatever, because he is going to rip me apart if not. So if you take anything away from it, I'm going to be dead honest with everything I tell you guys about the thing.
I'm gonna
you
tell
know?
you right now, I was scared when I went to the Crayola event. Like when I went there and played the Amico for the first time, because in my head I'm like, please be good, please be good, please
I
don't be crap, please
I
let
thought
these haters not be right, please
well,
let this like I was
I
going in there so nervous that maybe the people who were haters were right. And when I played it, I was like, oh thank God, thank God
I
it's
wasn't
not
nervous
that
about
bad.
that at all. I just thought I was gonna walk away going, "Meh, okay, yeah, it plays these games, cool."
Yeah, I was
But I walked
nervous.
away with a completely different vibe.
And the thing is, Tommy does that. Like if he knows somebody's like a skeptic, oh he comes right over to you. He's like, he's like, hey Saggy, so did you find a game that you like? And I just looked at him like, you know, you're a jerk, right? And he just smiles and he's like, did you like any of the games? It's like, yes, and I don't want to admit it, but yes. Uh,
So, anyways, just to answer this question, yeah, Segi said that basically you were giving it a try because Tommy encouraged you to give it a try, right? The
he
Amico.
just asked, just you know,
Yeah.
give it just give it a try. You might find something you like. Was his
So she
exact
was
words.
open enough to try it basically because I do need to wrap things up. So,
Yeah, of
Segi,
course.
tell people where they can find you and if you want to plug your show one more time.
Saggy Melons with the Z, not the S, please. For the love of Lord, don't put the S. And I don't do too many gaming stuff. I talk about the Amico once in a while, but mostly I talk about movies, drama, whatever I feel like talking about over there. And I have a potty
Mhm.
mouth, so yes. If you don't like swearing, please don't tune in because I do get heated and drop some F bombs once in a while.
And Potty Mouth Creep, where can people find you and reach you?
Same places. YouTube, obviously. I'm on Twitter once in a while. Instagram, I'm not too much into as much anymore. Also, yes, I do have a bit of a mouth. I'm toning it down a little bit again. Before I didn't have any bit of a mouth, but then I wanted to be me, and then me got a little too much. Um, but yeah, just wherever you find anything else, there I am.
And of course, you guys can find me right here
Yes.
on YouTube. Of course, I cover retro toys and games, video games. I've been doing it for quite a while. This is my first kind of interview. I hope you guys enjoyed this style. If you're interested in the Atari 7800, I did a podcast called the Atari 7800 Game by Game podcast that you can look up. I'm sure it's still out there on the interwebs somewhere. But I just want to thank everyone for joining tonight.
Yes.
Thank you guys for being here. It was chill. It was cool just to have some
Hmm.
sanity in a
It
crazy
was
controversial
refreshing.
topic. So yeah,
Yes.
refreshing, and I look forward to Tommy being Tommy Means, and I look forward to the El Camico, bringing the mobile fun all around. I think that was great. But anyways, thanks again for joining. We will see you next time.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.